It's Friday.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
And just
That
gone 11
means
o'clock.
It's not Wednesday. That is Friday. That's the day that comes before Saturday.
I feel like you're about to burst into happy days or something like that.
Monday, Tuesday, happy day. I'll tell you something weird about happy days. I wasn't expecting to see you, so I was going to do a hilarious surprise and, sort it all out. And there you are.
The gloves are off.
Like a little will-o'-the-wisp. Like a little will-o'-the-wisp, you turn up.
I try.
Like a little radio elf. What's this?
I'm in another room today, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it looks exactly the same as the other room.
I know, it looks similar, but I am feeling out of sorts.
Have they given you like an hour to get out, or what's the deal?
Yes, it's one of those self-destruct missions, you see. So when I don't move in a hurry, I'm afraid the room will implode.
Right.
With me in it.
Okay. Straight out of the gap of the 11 o'clock Ascot handicap stakes, it's Michael Verby in the colours of Anita and Malcolm Verby, trained in Mill Hill. Jules Silverman, good morning, happy Friday. I can only listen till 11:30 today. Sorry, Jules, you're fired. Francine Warner. Now, Fran.
Lips.
I don't know what all that means.
Blow kiss.
Everything with my cousin Fran is kisses. Everything. Doesn't matter. Everything is kisses.
Well, she obviously likes you.
I know. Good morning, gentlemen, says Tara Belmont. That's a rather posh name.
Good morning.
Like Tara Belmont. Hello.
Sounds very
Tara
demure.
Belmont got out of the back of the Bentley and walked into Quaglino's. Right. There we go.
Walked into where?
Quaglino's. Quaglino's was like one of the tip-top London restaurants. It was great.
Oh.
Now,
is it like McDonald's?
Very, very similar, you idiot. Now, Francine, love you more. You will remember Michael Verby because you will remember.
Now, was that an order?
No,
you will remember Michael Verby. Was that an order? You will remember Michael Verby.
No, it was a suggestion. Let me do something because I can hear the fan. Talk.
Well, that shouldn't be too difficult. Mind you, actually, I say it shouldn't be too difficult. I'm so not used to it, to tell you the truth, but I'll keep talking. I don't mind. Anyway, Chrissy Richards says, I've been ill all night and just got up. Morning, boys. Oh, well, Chrissy, we're very sorry to hear that. And might I suggest, actually, that you're in relatively good company because, regrettably, my father is not very well at the moment either. So, obviously, if Pop, if you're watching, wish you a very speedy recovery there.
Who?
Chrissy Richards has just said that she's been up all night ill. And I said she's in very good company because it was exactly the same with my father. So there you go.
Well, I decided to try and have an early night.
What's that?
6 o'clock this morning. 6 o'clock this morning, I was still awake. I couldn't. It's awful. I can't begin to put it into words, man.
You feel like a badger's backside.
I do, and I'm also boiling hot for some reason, so God knows what that is. Just in time for the long bank
You really
holiday
don't
weekend.
need to be paranoid if you're feeling hot. It is actually quite warm out today. So.
Thank God, because I'm like Louis Armstrong. I see trees are green, red roses too. I wait every day for you. And I say to myself, oh God, it's Phil Dave.
When out of interest did Louis Armstrong have a love child with Tommy Cooper?
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see they're there for me and for you. And I'll say to myself, how's about that then? I love Tommy Cooper. I could have been wearing.
You can imagine it now, couldn't you? And I think to myself, just like that. Anyway, and for some reason I sounded like Heather Small after the M people, but let's not dwell on that too much. Anyway,
to the people,
Francine says, what a voice. Well, quite. Claire Cockhill says, club singer. I wished I could club the singer, but sadly we're in different locations. Ramsey says, good morning, guys.
Just remember this.
Oh, what?
3 stops away from you. I could pretend to have to pop to the loo, jump on the tube, get in there and just smack you.
I'm warning you for nothing. If you went to the loo on the tube, then heaven help those who are not wearing a mask. But anyway.
God damn. Oh, God.
I can't remember if we've said anything, but Emma Webb said morning all, so I'll say good morning, Emma, just in case I didn't.
Look at
There you go. Fran
That's
said
Francine.
Uncle
That's
Arnold.
Francine.
Fran says Uncle Arnold wrote for Tommy Cooper.
That's it. Fran's my cousin because her mum and my dad were brother and sister. And there was 8 of them. 8 of them, can you imagine? And Uncle Arnold, who I had very little to do with, lived out in Braintree in Essex.
How very unfortunate.
You see, now you've pissed everybody off.
No, I haven't. I meant for you. You can visit him over so often.
I never visited him once, never ever. And oh, your mum's getting involved. Hello, guys. Hello, Linda. And my Uncle Arnold was very friendly with Tommy Cooper, absolutely true, and did write for him. Did silly gags. Uncle Arnold was always doing very silly gags.
Wow.
No, that's true. He wasn't a professional writer. I don't know what he did for a living. God only knows. If it was my family, he was probably a bank robber or something.
Unlike smelling salts, that's nothing to be sniffed at.
It's genius. You're in rocking form. How did the meeting go? Was everything all right, Philip?
Well, there's a bit of a story behind that, and I might tell you later.
Oh, okay. Ramsey says, sadly, I have a work meeting from 1 o'clock, so I'm going to miss Chantal. I wanted to pitch a new program, The Master The Masked Swinger, like the old Diana Dawes parties, but with cameras and masks, and the public have to guess.
I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Ramsey. I could only begin to imagine the horrors that would appear in that. No, thank you.
It would be disgusting. Her parties. Oh my God. Why would
gracious me? No, thank you.
No, didn't fancy that. Not your.
I went to the theatre yesterday.
You went to the theatre. What did you go and see?
Well, I'm pleased you asked that because I went to go and see a production. I went to go and see a production called Leopoldstadt. Now, to those who are not familiar with this is
this a Tom? What's
that's a Tom Stoppard? Yeah. So it was on at the Windmere, and
at the Windmill.
Sorry, Wyndham. Sorry.
And this is BBC Front Row. I'm Francine Stock, and over to our theatre critic Phil Dave. What's the name of the theatre that you went to, Phil?
It was a long day yesterday. I'm very sorry. It was the Wyndham Theatre in Leicester Square. Anyway, right.
Phil went to Lake Windermere to see a production of Donald Campbell, Annie, Get Your Boat. Crazy name, crazy gal.
Oh dear. Anyway, I do. But just think. You've got another 2 hours, 53 minutes of this nonsense. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Right.
Phantom.
Yes, Eve Phantom is here. Anyway, so I went to go and see this production, which actually I laugh, but it's actually quite serious. Leopoldstadt was about a Jewish family pre-Nazi Germany, and really, well, it's in a nutshell, it's the downfall of sort of how they were. I don't want to give too much away, but how they were sort of quite aristocratic.
I don't think it's going to be a spoiler alert if it's a Jewish family and it's World War II.
No. But what I mean is,
it could pan out.
No, I know, but I mean, it's about sort of basically it's their downfall and sort of the rise of Nazism, and it was reasonably well done actually. In fact, no, it was very well done. It was the quickest 2 hours I've ever sat in a theatre solid for. It was actually no interval at all, which I was a bit dubious at first. I thought, my God, 2 hours and sitting in front of it is going to be really heavy, but actually it was quite. It was very quick, very good. So I can recommend it. But of course, I actually wanted to go and see the production Anything Goes, which I have been frantically...
I'll do this quietly and you can talk about it.
Thank you. I've been frantically trying to get tickets for Anything Goes for the past heaven only knows how many weeks, and have been miserable in my attempts. So anyway, but hopefully... I'm doing my tap dancing. Right. But of course, you know that left's right today and right's left today. So there you go.
Ball, shuffle, ball. Now, Robert, somebody I was talking to. Oh, yes, it was our very own, you love her, we love her. It's Alexander Lichtenfeld and her Performing Doves. Alex, I was speaking to Alex yesterday.
Yes, and she went to go and see it, didn't she?
What's the point of me saying that then? You've just completely preempted what I was going to say.
I didn't preempt because
you preempted the whole thing. Ruined it.
Well, she told me the day before she went. And
Well,
I
then she
said
can't
I
have
was.
told you what, but she can't have told you what she thought of it, can you?
I
No.
said to her I was
No.
insanely. I messaged her. I said I was insanely jealous of her going because I've been trying to
Well,
get tickets for it.
You're just you're jealous of her asymmetrical hair and her huge round glasses. That's what you're jealous of.
True, but who wouldn't be in
And
their right mind? But as you know, I'm not in my
a
right
very
mind.
attractive woman. Luke Newman. It's only
Luke
Blooming
Newman.
Friday.
Not a lot gets past you. I've always thought this.
He is on the ball, baby. He is unfreaking believable. That Luke Newman.
You are on it like a car bonnet.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but it rhymes.
What does that actually mean? It's on it like a car bonnet. It's good though. You're on it like a rocket.
I think it means, from what I've interpreted, I think it means you've got it covered, because a car bonnet covers stuff, doesn't it? Covers the engine.
Yeah.
So
unless it's a Tesla, then it covers the front.
In Tesla's case, it covers a boot. But you know what I mean. But a car bonnet, it's kind of covering it, isn't it? So I'd imagine it's kind of a case of you've got it covered. You're on it.
Yes.
Like a car bonnet.
You're absolutely right there. Yes, indeed. Yes.
I feel like Susie Dent on Countdown. This is the origins of expressions.
I always feel like Rachel Riley. She's steaming hot. Now, here's the thing. Have I misunderstood what you were saying? I think I've misunderstood, haven't I? Well,
I'm just wondering whether or not one's allowed to say that in 2021.
Don't care. I really don't care. Hey, I was getting the coffee the other day. And,
that's coffee.
I'm the one who's had no sleep because of bloody insomnia. That's what makes me manic. It makes me horribly manic, and then I collapse. So I went to get coffee. I talk about what you can say and what you can't say. There was a very attractive young lady serving the coffees. She was wearing a terrific outfit. So I said, no. I'm not going to walk into it. I said, I don't know what I'm allowed to say anymore, but may I just say, I think you look great. Your outfit's fantastic. And she turned around and said, oh, that is really, really nice of you. And thank you for asking. But she said, no, it's absolute. And we had a chit chat and a yak. And I go there just to get away and look over the Thames and have my doppio macchiato, per favore. Every time I go, they teach me another little phrase. Double macchiato. And we were talking about...
Is it French?
Yeah, Lithuanian, actually. You'd feel more at home with that. Lithuanian. And we talked about this, and we were saying how much of life is much easier when you just say, hey, not my problem. When people are driving you mad about other stuff, you go, hey, it's just not my problem. And she came up with the best phrase, and she went, not my circus, not my monkey. Is that great? It's going in my book, by the way. Not my circus, not my monkey. That's my new catchphrase. Isn't that great? You don't look impressed.
I'm trying to absorb this newfound literary excellence.
Isn't it good, though? Not my circus, not my monkey. There you go. I think it's great.
Yes, I can't understand why Wordsworth didn't come up with it.
You're not being supportive. You've obviously had a very good meeting. You're a bit full of yourself now.
To be honest with you,
you're a little bit full of yourself, if you don't mind me saying so.
So I have to tell you that what happened with the meeting is, unfortunately, there was a little bit of a misunderstanding.
And the security job had already gone?
One of the participants, the meeting, unfortunately, hasn't been very well this week anyway. As a result of it, the meeting was postponed, but the notification to tell me that the meeting was postponed on with it. So unfortunately, I didn't know it was postponed.
Of course.
So actually, what happened was...
Phil, how many times can you fit in the word postponed into one sentence? Let's give it a go.
I don't know. I've never given it a thought until now.
Come on.
But I'll hold that thought. Or should I postpone that thought? Anyway, the upshot is I didn't realise the meeting wasn't happening, and therefore I was already
like a schmuck on your own, and then you fired yourself, and now you've got nothing to do.
But it's fine. So then I had to go and quickly catch up with one or two other bits that I ordinarily would do.
Did you not go into the meeting, give yourself an assessment, give yourself an appraisal, give yourself an evaluation, give yourself full marks, 10 out of 10, finest employee, and give yourself a pay rise? Did you not do that? That's what I'd have done.
I didn't think of it. I gave myself a P45 instead.
God, that's why I get the big bucks.
Oops. Luke Newman says, as long as I don't look like a banana and split.
Do you know, I realise, I know when you watch videos and stuff, they're always going on about the banana splits, and it's a show I never saw ever once.
La
I know
la
it goes.
la 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 la. Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
understand what that's about.
It was about the banana splits.
Okay, fine.
They were
Was it only on a
basically
Sunday? Was it
basically the banana splits were a group of puppets that weren't quite good enough to make it to Disney level. So what happened was they didn't have a theme park to go to, so they got their own television show to pacify them.
Okay.
You're drinking lemon and hot water.
No, I'm just having water, which
Yeah.
has been purified, Bobby purified, with a bit of lemon in it. Okay, it's not a big deal.
Very showbiz.
Bit showbiz. Do a Tom and Cruise.
No, thank you very much
How
indeed.
do you do that? Oh, do a Tom and
No.
Cruise. That's very good.
Very naughty.
Now, I got something that I want to talk about. First of all, he never misses the show. Paul Stanley of Kiss. He's not well, so they've had to start cancelling shows. This is the end of the road tour. I'm a massive, massive Kiss fan. And they're incredible. Paul's 69. Gene, it was his birthday yesterday or the day before. He's 71. They're doing this massive final tour. And it would be lovely on the very last show if Ace Frehley and Peter Criss turn up. Wouldn't bet the house on it, but it'd be great if they do. And Paul Stanley has tested positive for COVID, which at 69 you don't want. So, and they're being very
even at
stringent
6 or 9, you don't really want. Let's tell you the truth.
Don't want it at all. Get well to Sue Cressman. She's got it. And her husband. It's their anniversary today. Charming photograph of them, I must say.
Oh,
yeah, lovely. They look like they're on their wedding day 13 years ago, and they're both celebrating their anniversary with COVID. Nice. Anyway, I was thinking today, young Philip, about the fact that why we've resonated around the world with our shows is that a lot of the world just seems to be on a parallel universe. You just don't understand what's going on at all. And you look at it and you go, well, this is ridiculous. One of the things I'm looking at, I'm not getting political, I'm just overarching commenting. Extinction Rebellion. Now, if you live somewhere nice in the country or on the coast, you're watching this in Spain or wherever you're watching this, you can give two flying you-know-whats about Extinction Rebellion because they're not going to come to your village. They're not going to come to
but the problem is they can't be flying because otherwise it wouldn't fall in line with Extinction Rebellion.
Did you see that the co-founder drives a diesel car?
Yes, she announced that on Talk Radio. So.
Did she? So she drives.
Yes.
She drives. And the people immediately.
She was suitably ambassador for it, by the way.
Did you see the way that the people on Twitter immediately rushed to her rescue? She can't afford the expensive upper-class electric cars. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, well, as I replied to any moron who used that as a defense, funnily enough, neither can a lot of people. That is the problem. So if they're going to start having a go at individuals for driving petrol or diesel vehicles, and they say, change them to electric, guess what? In the same way one of the founders of Extinction Rebellion can't afford it, neither can they.
Neither can I. They are disgusting. Now, I watch this. I'm not saying, let's be clear, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be protecting the planet. Of course we should. But, you know, you and I putting our little packaging into a separate bin and everything, and you look at China, you look at India, you look at Pakistan, you look at all these other huge polluting nations. They don't give a shit. So we're being told off and everything. We're doing our best in our own little way, but it's a joke compared to the huge industrial output. You know, me putting my wrapping into one bag and the crap into another bag. How's that going to do?
And you are familiar, of course, that the argument against that is that, well, we should lead by example. But I put it to anyone who thinks like that. We do lead by example. Even if for a second I thought that they were in the least bit interested in what we did, they're not. But if they are, don't you think that we do pretty blooming well in the first place? Think how many places you go now where there are always two bins side by side. You don't just have a bin for rubbish, you have a bin for rubbish and recycling. Not only that, think of the number of the tons of plastic that's been removed from consumer life. The supermarkets have changed big time.
And so they should.
Not to mention, okay, but we've done it. But not to mention
we've done
the
it, yeah.
electric vehicles all over the place, the bike lanes to encourage people to cycle.
God.
I know it's a sore point, but the point is that we are leading by example. We do very, very well in this country compared to an awful lot of other countries. And I'm not saying there's not room for improvement, but I am suggesting stop lambasting when actually we are doing quite well, and we're probably doing our best, to be honest.
We are. Luke Newman says, there was a famous clip of an Extinction Rebellion leaving a march on animal rights and walking into McDonald's and bought a Big Mac. Here's the thing. We got slightly sidetracked. They're a bunch of urban terrorists, is basically what they are. They're a bunch of dicks. Why, speaking of dicks, why is our head of the Metropolitan Police, Cressida Dick, why is she permitting this? Did you see what happened to Buckingham Palace yesterday? You would know, Phil, because you're a news hound.
Anyone who doesn't know, by the way, this is animal rights activists, by the way, who decided that they would daub the Buckingham Palace fountain on the Mall with a load of red paint to demonstrate animals' blood. Very classy. Well done.
And where are the police? You see, what gets me is if you're driving along, this is why I'm talking about people being out of step, and we get sick of it, because if you lose faith in an institution, if you think that it's one rule for one and one for another, you just give up and you think, sod this, I'm just not playing this anymore. So if you're driving along and one of your rear lights is out, or I remember driving through Regent's Park and inadvertently switched on my fog lights. I just knocked the switch with my hand.
Well, you're a disgrace.
Oh, I was stopped by the police.
Oh, of course you
were. I was stopped by the police in Regent's Park because and he was so rude, so aggressive, and so rude. You know, like he just found a Kalashnikov on my passenger seat. I hit the fog light button by mistake. It wasn't blinding anybody, you know. And yet these twerps, these repulsive little bastards, can go and do whatever they like, smash up buildings, hold up Oxford Circus, hold up London, no repercussions whatsoever. So do I have faith in the police? No, I don't. I think Cressida Dick, what the hell, what are they doing? Why is it you're not allowed to just get on with your lives and we have to be held ransom? Absolutely no comeback about these people whatsoever. And it has for me, and I don't know about you, Philip, and I don't know about our listeners all over the world, but it has for me the reverse effect. The more they bang on about it and do interpretive dances, anything say wanker bigger than standing in the middle of a London street doing interpretive dance? No, can't think of anything, quite frankly. Martin Allen says, Russ, there's been one rule for one and one for another for years, but now it's just become a joke and I'm not laughing. You're absolutely right. Yesterday I posted on Facebook, I said, Cressida Dick is a joke. She should go. It's not a political statement. I mean, she should go.
Fine, but I don't necessarily think. Yeah, but I don't necessarily think we need to start sort of picking on any individual who's not here. But at the same,
she's the head of the police force.
I'm well aware. Well, she's the head of the Metropolitan Police Force.
Well, it starts at the head, doesn't it? I'm sorry.
But look, the point is, I would suggest anyway that this has a really detrimental effect on society and the mental health of society as well.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I wanted to say. Yes.
Because what happens is that you see, as you say, RK, one rule for one, one for the other, and it divides people. It causes further division. It causes further anger amongst people. And with that further anger comes tension. With tension comes stress. With stress comes mental problems. And sorry, but they really need to start taking it a little more seriously, because otherwise this mental health crisis that we're already in is going to be exponentially worsened.
I wrote an article this week for a newspaper, which I do every 2 weeks. And the statistics from the NHS, now we've been told, save the NHS, save the NHS, save the NHS. I think we've got to save the NHS from itself, basically. They are virtually almost at 5 million procedures behind schedule because of COVID. 5 million. With the best will in the world, that is impossible to catch up. I'm not being critical of the NHS at all. They can't catch up 5 million procedures. You can't. If you had the operating theatres working round the clock on 24 hours a day shift, you still couldn't catch up 5 million procedures. And two things happened this week that absolutely astounded me. Somebody very close to me went for a general medical at the local NHS, centre. And they said, "Oh, sorry, we can't do any blood tests." So this person said, "Why not?" Have a guess why they can't do it.
I know the answer to this, so I'm going to let the listener guess.
Have a guess why they couldn't do the blood tests. It's beyond belief. So I thought, that must be a one-off. And then I was reading on Facebook, somebody else that I don't even know said exactly the same thing. And I'll tell you the answer. They've run out of files. They don't have those little files you put the blood samples in that go off to the laboratory to be checked to see if you've got, you might have cancer, you might have this, that, and the other. It's a quick way of finding out and doing preventative medicine. They've run out of files. Who the hell's in charge of supply? How can that possibly be? The NHS has run out of files.
Some might say it's vile. Huh. See what I did there?
They were. Yeah, no, I got. Yeah,
they're little vials, and I said it was vile, but
the little vials. It's an extraordinary thing, because you can't just say, "Oh, I fancy a cup of tea." Oh no! And you open the fridge. Oh bugger! I forgot to get milk. It's not like you're talking about the NHS. You don't suddenly one morning wake up and go, "Oh, hey, Phil, do you know what I forgot to get down in the supermarket, don't you? 200 million files. I forgot. Came back with washing up liquid. What an idiot am I." It doesn't work like that. Who the hell's in charge of procurement? It's extraordinary, isn't it? It's shocking. It's frightening.
It goes to show that given extraordinary times in which we're living, and I get that we're living in extraordinary times, essential eyes have been taken.
Are we?
No. What we are, in the sense that we're living a very disruptive existence at the moment, or disrupted existence. It doesn't mean to say that there isn't room to change that or room for improvement. But the point is that with this disruption means that people are taking their eyes off the ball, and it's just not. It's just not okay.
Let's go through some of the. Graham Simpson says, "Lost faith in the Met years ago. They can't even police a simple protest, yet alone enforce knife laws because of political correctness." Don't get me started. The law should be the law regardless. Well, it can't. It's all box ticking. The law is
Andy
not
Lucas, who, of course, let's not forget, is a phlebotomist by trade, says, "I have no problem with the bottles. I'm at work, so I can tell you it depends on the area."
So Andy, you're saying you've got the little blood test glass thing.
The little vials.
You've got them. Because that's two people, and they were told point blank, boom, don't have them. But you know what? You say it depends on the area. Totally get that. Totally get it. But who cares?
Alan Samuels says, "Morning, gents. Can we have a shout out to," and then doesn't complete the sentence.
So it's Alan. Congratulations. No idea. Don't know what it says. Who do you want us to shout out to?
Oh my. Luke Newman's in equally as bad a predicament, where he says they've run out of toys at McDonald's too. I didn't have very happy twin boys yesterday.
Which is strange because they're both 27. Luke, come on, tell them to get a life. Andrea Lucas, yes. Andrea Lucas, yes, what? Yes, you've got bottles, but it doesn't answer my question. It's irrelevant. If you've got them, they should be all over the United Kingdom, not just in your area, not in some other areas. This is nonsense. Blood screening is incredibly important.
Jules Silverman quits. Morning, gents.
Morning, gents.
Can we have a shout out? Eileen and Margaret, top lawyers. Oh, what have you done now, Alan? For goodness sake.
Oh, for heaven's sake. I bet he triple parked on Mill Hill Broadway.
Ugh,
I think he
so
triple parked
disappointing.
on Mill Hill Broadway, went into the sports. I don't know. I don't even know what it looks like anymore. Used to be there every day. I used to see Alan. He was always sitting outside having a coffee. I'd walk by. Morning. And it was all of that. But Phil, you said this was going to happen in March last year. Absolutely right. Andrea Lucas, sorry, I can't help anymore. What are you doing? You're pulling focus. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you being
I was
silly?
auditioning for Ramsey's new show.
What? That's just dawned on you. That was 20 minutes ago. That's just dawned on you. That's it. Unbelievable. God almighty.
What? You've got to allow these things time.
You got to let it sizzle, baby. You got to let it sizzle and kind of drizzle. Sorry, I can't help anymore. Andy, I wasn't being rude, but you do understand my point. It's no good saying, well, we've got them in our area. These are blood tests. Blood tests are one of the first lines of defense against cancer, for example. Or you know, so many diabetes, so many things. There we are.
This is the Daily Show, by the way, live on Men's Radio Station, right the way through till 2 o'clock this afternoon with him, Russ Kane, and with me, Phil Dave. Don't forget, we are broadcasting live across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and of course, mensradiostation.com, the Men's Radio Station app, Deluxe Radio, and Radio Waves. Wherever you are, wherever you're at, you're very welcome to join us. Thank you very much indeed for the pleasure of your company.
Wow, that was
Slick.
That was
As a butter knife,
beyond.
baby.
It was so slick. I'm going to call you Grace.
It's almost like I
Yeah.
do this before.
It's extraordinary. It's unbelievable. Now,
Grammatically, that was shocking. But
the other thing, it doesn't matter. The other thing I was going to say, so we've got the Extinction Rebellion nonsense going on. And then we've got
I cracked my screen. Look, it's not
Oh,
good.
did you?
Well, I mean,
Please interrupt. But go on. What have you done?
I don't think you can really see it, but I cracked the screen. But luckily, it's the glass protector, so don't worry. I'm going to replace it.
I always have a glass protector on the actual screen itself because I'm clumsy. And I didn't realize it was on my last phone. I didn't realize it was just the protective screen. Listen to this. This is how they just bullshit you. I didn't realize it was the protective screen, which costs, flumpence. I thought it was the actual screen. So I went into a shop when we had our studio in Covent Garden in the old days. I went into the repair shop and they said, oh, yes, yeah, we can repair that. I said, oh.
And did Jay Blades pop out?
And did what?
Jay Blades pop out and start helping you?
I don't know what that is.
He's the presenter of the repair shop on the BBC.
Well, I hope it wasn't him because I said, yeah, we can do this. It's £200 plus VAT.
What, for a screen cover?
They knew that it was the screen cover protective, which costs £4 or something. And they were going to charge me 200 quid and pretend they've fixed the phone. And that was in Covent Garden on Longacre. I walked out.
And what did you say to them?
I said, let me think about it. Yeah, right. That's going to happen. So isn't that disgusting? Isn't that disgusting?
Do you know what? I reckon they'd seen this show.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that technology is not necessarily your forte, and they thought, we can make a fast buck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, fast buck was pretty close to what I told them to do. Anyhow,
yeah. Do you know, actually, that reminds me of a time when I said it. The problem is, you see, unfortunately, when you stumble across different places where they try and take you for a mug, I would suggest that it's always worth doing your research before you go into a shop. Oh, shut up, Siri. Right. It's always worth doing research before you pop into a shop. Because I once, without someone realizing that I know I don't dress typically like a computer technician, but I went into, I don't have a ponytail. Well, I don't have a ponytail. I don't have a goatee. I'm not morbidly obese.
You're not a hipster.
Yeah. Anyway. So I am being stereotypical, and I apologize to anyone who's offended, but stop eating donuts. Anyway, but I went into this particular shop where I went to go and I think I went to go and get a printer repaired or something like that. Anyway,
printer.
With this, they said, would you like to purchase this antivirus program that's on special offer today? And I looked and I said, now look, I said, you're a computer technician. I said, you're a computer technician. and I'm a computer technician. Are you seriously telling me that you actually recommend that product, which is known in the trade to hideously slow down people's machines? Are you actually recommending that to me?
Uh-oh.
And he turned around and he said, to tell you the truth, we're told to proffer it.
Yeah, of course. Of course they are.
And I thought, right, that's all I need to know. I have not been back in said shop since.
What, does it begin with M, the product?
No, actually, it's the other one. But
Oh, I don't know which one that would be. Oh, gosh.
It doesn't matter.
Have you seen what's happened to that fellow, multimillionaire, and all sorts of problems? Mr. McAfee. You
has he got a
that
virus?
Story? No. Have you not been following that? He's wanted for, I think it's murder.
Oh, yes. No. Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. It's the most extraordinary case. You should follow it. Let's go up to Fife in Scotland. Morning, everyone. Hope all of you in England enjoy your bank holiday. Hey. I think we will see. I think...
Hang on, so didn't you have a bank holiday a couple of weeks ago? You got one coming up or something? I'm fairly sure there was a time when Scotland had one.
Tossing the kebab pancakes bank holiday.
What's it called when they have those massive logs chucking the what?
Tossing the kebab. Kebab. C-A-B-E-R. The kebab. Aye. You
did the Clash do a song about it? Rock the kebab.
That was it. Gonna rock the kebab. Rock the kebab. Nicka-nacka-nee, rock the kebab. Yeah, that was it.
Hearing that accent just makes me want whiskey. It's not fair.
Is it? Of course, you can't have it, but I could just stretch to my right and have a rather delicious Auchentoshan.
But to be fair, I wouldn't really want it at 11:30 in the morning.
Why not? You in showbiz or not? Are you in showbiz or you're not in showbiz?
Unless it's a Saturday, because then that would mean I'm in synagogue, so that's different.
They don't serve whiskey in shul.
You've been going to the wrong shuls, my friend.
Wow. What are you at the Soho Whiskey Club Synagogue? Something. What
It's true, actually.
They're amalgamating it with Rabbi George Mickey. Today's sermon is taken from Glenfiddich, chapter 2.
from Glenfiddich, drum 2. Dram 2, that's it.
Dram 2. And Moses said, And
Moses said, it's a bit peaty for my liking.
Peaty for my liking. And he rode off in his Triumph, or any other British sports car from the 1950s. Kimmy Lashmar, it's only a bank holiday for office and bank people. Lovely sunny day here in Clacton-on-Sea. Wow.
Kimmy, you're in Clacton?
I didn't know you lived in Clacton.
Goodness.
Wowza. Who would have
I was
thought?
quite near there a couple of weeks ago. I was in Frinton.
Why? Why would anyone go to... Why?
What do you mean, why? Frinton's lovely.
What were you doing there?
By the beach, innit?
Who were you with?
My folks.
Did you wear handkerchiefs on your head? Roll your sleeves up?
We went for a dip in the paddling pool.
I bet you did as well, probably. Phil would be wearing a cravat and a velvet jacket on the beach. It could be 90 degrees.
Actually. I did wear a jacket on the beach, and there was a great number of people who looked at me as if I'd gone mad. I can't understand why.
Did you? You did, didn't you? You
what?
Did, didn't you?
Of course I wore a jacket and cravat. Yeah. Absolutely I did.
Have you seen
folks who walked past who were
What? Have you seen
there were one or
two
blokes who walked past who were shirtless, and they were laughing a bit. And I thought, do you know what? If I had a body like that, I think it'd be the other way around. I'd laugh at you. I don't mean to be rude, but I mean, like they've clearly gone to IKEA because they had several shelves in front of them. But
Kimmy Lashmar, sorry, watching pigeons building a nest. The blokey brings the twigs. The fee pigeon keeps dropping them. What's a fee pigeon? It's female.
One would assume a female pigeon, but I'm not entirely sure how you know. Isn't that to do with the colouring on their head or something like that?
No, there's a sign. One has F and one has M on the side of the head. If you look carefully, that's how you can actually do it. Actually, at Mum's, and Frinton is too posh that you can't go round the shops
It's true, actually.
In
Oh,
a vest.
I tell you what, I wouldn't say posh because don't forget it is the Essex coastline, no offence. But I would suggest that there is a certain element of decorum on the high street to some degree. That having been said, I would suggest it's ever so slightly shattered when once in a while you get it. You see the state of her being shouted across or something like that. That's less good.
Oh, but did you then turn around and go, you're absolutely right. I think she's sartorial and let the whole coast down.
I find her lack of sartorial elegance quite devastating, really, to the impact of the local diversity and to the local
diversity links me into my next thing.
I don't mean diversity. What do I mean?
I don't know. Any other dance troupe from Britain got happened? I don't know.
No, I don't mean diversity. I mean to the local. Divas. No,
drudgery,
hang on a sec. I'll think of the word. Hang
dungeness.
on. Don't go anywhere. Hang on. It's the local.
Oh God, take your time. It's only radio. Kimmy Lashmore.
Maybe it's not like local beauty or something like. But I don't mean the local beauty. But where's a word
You're
for
talking
it?
about Kimmy Lashmore. She is the local beauty. So she says. Kimmy
no
Lashmore,
offense taken. Yes, you've summed it up. Thanks.
Seaside towns on a sunny day are nice, and in winter, probably the most depressing places on earth. Right. There's nothing more depressing than going on the seaside when it's winter, grey, and it's just horrible. You just feel dead.
Just good. Where the hell have you been going? You sure you've been going to beaches? And
yeah,
what are you talking about?
Well, in the winter,
yes,
the coastal areas are incredibly depressing.
But why would you go to a beach in winter?
I'm just saying that you might. You're not going to go to the beach.
I suggest you got it coming to you if you go to a beach in winter. That's ridiculous.
Jesus Christ. Right. You may have seen on another radio station. This is talking about. You just said the word diversity, which is Freudian. You may have seen. I'm not going to mention the name of the radio station, but it's part of the BBC, and they have just, which was inevitable. We knew it was going to happen. Changed their lineup, and they've effectively got rid of the two most popular presenters this particular radio station has. And I looked at it. I knew it was guaranteed it was going to happen because they got a new boss in, box ticker extraordinaire.
Now, hang on a second. And this is where we've got to be careful, okay?
Well, I know with the interview, I had the interview.
It's a decision. It's a decision that was above that person's head, just to be clear.
Okay, but a decision nonetheless that was part propagated by the interview process. We'll leave it at that. I'm not going into details which were told in confidence. However, you look at it and you think, why do that? Why get rid of people who are, just popular? People love them, got a following, and you're chasing an audience that just is a phantom audience, not an phantom audience, a phantom audience, just not there. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary the decisions that the BBC make. Absolutely amazing. Then they wonder why their numbers crash. Luke Newman.
But the problem is they don't. That's exactly the problem. They don't wonder why. That's the thing, is there is no accountability if numbers crash. That is the problem.
There is a theory, and this is the theory. As you know, the BBC have loads of local radio stations, which were wonderful. So easy to be sarcastic, but local radio is a fantastic thing because people love the local news and the local knowledge.
And so now people will never know where to turn to talk about biscuits.
You know very well what I'm saying. So when Global, which was Capital Radio, when Global bought up all the local radio stations, and they had some presenters been there 20, 30 years, and people loved them, and have thought it was only about the money with Global, and they got rid of everything, and everything came out of London. Well, if you're living in some nice little village or something like that, you don't want the news coming out of Leicester Square. You want to know what's going on in your high street, in your local area. But so that was Global. That was commercial reasons. They got rid of, 30 local radio stations. So it could come out. I mean, it saves them 30 salaries, 30 loads of staff, 30, studios, all of that. I get that, but it's not serving the audience. But they don't care. It's all about money. And the BBC local radio is an important thing. But there is a theory amongst broadcasters that they do this so that eventually they can turn around and say, look at our figures. They're terrible. We should just close it down.
A theory that is obviously not proven, I should stress. But you're quite, you are, of course,
it's not proven. Of course,
you are, of course, quite right in the sense that people in the industry do very much believe that that is the only possible justification for behaving in such a ridiculous manner. But look, I guess in the absence of anyone to answer as to why they behave in such a way, we just have to assume that they know what they're doing and they've done it for a reason.
And it's the BBC and it's your money. Your money, so they don't care. The wastage there is just jaw-dropping. Paul Claridge. Oh no, let's just do. Was it Luke who said this? The rocks. Yeah, Luke Newman saying that the big rocks, the big tidal waves hitting the rocks is fascinating. Yeah, absolutely. The sea is fascinating, right? Paul Claridge. Hi, gang. Hi, Paul. Sorry, I'm late. I'm sure. Show Phil a note at the end of this, please. I'm up a ladder in Downham. So, slight non sequitur, isn't it? I'm up a ladder in Downham. That's very good, Paul. So far this week, do you want to read this, Phil?
I see what you did there.
Please read this.
Paul says, so far this week, while working at East Croydon, I've been assaulted once and verbally and physically threatened twice. Oh, and I got told off by my employer for stopping work to give first aid to a lady who collapsed and was dying in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
The lady, by the way, survived and returned yesterday to thank me. Oh, and I also spent time hugging my homeless friend Louise outside the train station as she feels utterly depressed. And I'm going to get up the rest of your comment, Paul, because you very kindly make very long comments and a lot of effort, and it seems a bit rude to just dismiss all of the rest of it, because I never know how long it goes on
for. What's he ever done for you? The hell with him. Him and his ladder.
But hold that thought 2 seconds, and we shall get the rest of said comment.
Paul, am I allowed to tell your story? Paul is a very, very nice man. You may remember that he beat cancer, lost half his body weight. It was very aggressive cancer, and through it all, he kept positive. He's an amazing fellow. And Paul's job is that he gives out, he's done many other things, by the way, but he gives out free newspapers. So just think about that. You're not asking anyone for any money. You're handing out a free newspaper for which you require nothing. Maybe a thank you. Unlikely. He gets spat at, punched, abused, beaten up, verbally beaten up for giving out a free newspaper. What the hell is the matter with people?
Mind you, if someone tried to give me The Guardian, no. Right, I suggest that he goes...
I said newspaper, not rag.
Oh, I see what you did there. Very good. Very good. Yes, that reminds me, actually, I must line the cat litter tray. Anyway, I got another... I got the rest of the message here, where Paul goes on to say that she feels utterly depressed at the lack of support for people in her position. She doesn't beg, she asks for nothing, and yet gets no help. And Paul, I don't know whether or not you saw the program or heard the program the other day when I said that I, funnily enough, found myself in a very similar position, not so much hug someone, but because it was a complete stranger and I didn't know the chap at all, and I feel that could cause problems. But there was a chap who I stumbled across who was clearly down on his luck, was homeless, and was actually sort of crying by a subway. By an underground station entrance. So a friend of mine that I was with, who is far better at these sorts of things than I am, both of us stopped and we chatted to him for about half an hour. So, and it was very nice to have a conversation. And I was clearly very angry chap, and who the hell can blame him? But it was, I would just like to think that sort of that small gesture made a difference to his day, hopefully. So
that's all you need. It's all you need. Paul Endicott, diversity. Oh, yeah, of course. The great word, diversity. Paul Endicott, diversity. But they will diverse themselves to no listeners. That's how they're going to diverse themselves. Sue Sleet, great not to have tourists on the beach in winter. Can be very therapeutic, walking along, listening to the waves. As long as Katrina's not involved. See what I did there? Dave Sleet.
Oh,
Hello.
was that as in like Katrina and the Waves?
Yeah.
As in like the British band who was on the Eurovision Song Contest or something.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
And they were the ones who did Walking on Sunshine and stuff.
Yeah.
But except they did, I think they did Love Shine a Light for Eurovision, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was just making sure I understood properly.
Yeah. You finished? Dave Sleet.
Actually, didn't she have another song?
Oh, Jesus. I spent a horrendous evening with her once. I can't tell the story. It wasn't sexual, I can assure you. Not in the least. For one very blatant, obvious reason. Dave
Might
Sleet.
I suggest that love shine a light? Thanks.
No, that doesn't work.
Oh.
No.
I thought it was quite clever.
No, you couldn't even shine a halogen light on that. Dave Sleet. Hello. I'm Dave Sleet. Who wants psychological course? Do you want psychological course? I've got one. Yeah, it's psychological game. What's it all about, mate? Wait, what's it all about? Dave Sleet, hello there. Greetings, one and all. Nuke Lumen, nuke. Let's nuke Luke. I'm a big fan.
Nuke Lumen.
Nuke Lumen. That's going to be the new cartoon series. Hey, Nuke Lumen. Paul Claridge. No, not my problem. Not my problem. I'm not going to sign any petition because it's a waste of time, Paul. They've made up their minds. Screw them. Dave Sleet, service mentality has been eroded for profit. That is so true. Now, we've got some amazing guests, and one of our guests,
we have got guests. I'm so pleased.
No, of course we have. Of course we got guests. And Leo Green is one of the best mates of one of our guests, and Leo Green, son of the great, much missed broadcaster Benny Green. He was my hero. I never met him. I absolutely loved listening to him. I loved his anecdotes and his style. And then I was really delighted to meet his son, Leo. Obviously, he's not very talented, but I mean, he does his best. And Leo few people make me laugh as much as he does. Completely disgusting what the BBC have done announced. But yeah, this was going to happen. I mean, the interview that he had that sort of went viral underground because we all knew about it in the industry was months and months ago. Yes, Russ, please do tell. Oh, right. I can tell Paul Claridge has given me permission to tell the story. Sue, happy anniversary, Sue Cressman. She runs Nail Court Hall. It's somewhere very lovely. What are you doing?
Wasn't that the musical accompaniment to Goldfinger?
No, I wasn't doing that. I was doing Star Trekking across the universe.
Oh, no, that sounded, when you said it, because it works, doesn't it? Sue Cressman. Yeah,
she's the blonde.
Works quite well.
The blonde who runs Nail Court Hall. And that's not all. She's got a husband who's American. There's a golf course. And weddings she has galore, and yet there's more. Frightening, really, isn't it? Anyway, happy anniversary, Sue Cressman. Wish you well.
Sue Cressman, you'll be delighted to hear that Russ and I have just live on this program come up with your next marketing campaign.
I think that's it. Wow, wow. We get Shirley. Shirley can do a little bit of something.
Newman says, I'm looking forward to going out tonight for the first time in 18 months with the wife. She will have to watch me showcase the mental health mold books to 100 people, though. But she will get a hog roast. Is that a euphemism?
Is that some sort of sexual?
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a euphemism?
It's like
win-win for her.
Sort of posh dogging. You got a hog roast.
I do have to suggest, Luke, that as a Jewish vegetarian, a hog roast sounds completely and utterly revolting. But I hope you enjoy it.
It's not revolting. I like them, except
you're not a Jewish vegetarian.
No, but when you see the whole thing there, you go, oh, God, how did life end up for you? Well, you're on a table and it's not so great. You have an apple shoved in your mouth.
I know.
Kind of puts you off. But
I
then you
asked a
taste
pig
it.
once how they felt about getting on a hog roast. They said I could just spit.
Yeah, I know. If she's lucky. Darling, I'm going for a hog roast. Oh, that sounds nice. You may not enjoy all of it. Anyway, well done. I love this book, the Mental Health Mold book. It's a fantastic book. And Luke was out. Luke was out. Oh, look! Like, I thought you were hearing from like our foreign correspondent stuff. Oh, word just coming in. Word just coming.
Yeah,
It's
just being relayed to me. Sorry, hold that thought. I'm just being told. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
We can now confirm
that Russ doesn't have any sleep. Sue Crispin, that's cheered me up. Our pleasure. Yeah, it's this is the story about this is what? Oh, hang on. What's going on now? This is from taking. What's Veronica saying? Doing daughter duty, taking wee mum for macular appointment. Thankfully, only a scan. All ears now. Oh, that's
all ears. That's a funny expression, actually, isn't it? If you think about it,
all ears. Yeah, right.
Because one would like to think you're made up of other components.
No, just two ears walk into the room. Two ears walk in the room. What's it? That's up in Edinburgh, under the Edinburgh Medical Association of. It doesn't matter. Move on. This is an extraordinary story that happened to Paul Claridge, and he wrote to me about it last week. I think it was last week. I don't know. Every week seems the same to me. And it was a very long thing he wrote, and I said, I'm not going to say anything. And sort it out with your employees. And
I don't believe for a second that Paul Claridge wrote something that was very long.
It was like a book. Anyway, a woman collapses in front of him. Paul, being a golden-hearted and very decent man, helps her, calls for the emergency services, who eventually arrive in East Croydon. And they say to him, had you not done what you did, she would have died. You basically saved this woman's life. The woman's a complete stranger. She's walking by. She collapses. And Paul saves her life. I'm not going to name it, so Phil, you don't have to do a whole
spiel.
Legal
spiel.
A legal spiel. Messrs. Sue Grabbit and Run, well-known solicitors. His employers say, we don't want any more excuses from you. Do not tell us we're not interested. Basically, they wrote, and I said to him, keep all the texts, keep all the messages. They didn't care he'd saved someone's life. They cared that he hadn't given out the newspapers in the time that he was saving someone's life. What in the name of decency is that company like?
Well, might I suggest...
Is that a shocker?
Well, might I suggest, Paul, how dare you not put profit before someone's life?
How dare you put profit before people? What's the matter with you? Have you learnt nothing, Paul? Should have let her die and, just given away some more free newspapers. What a pile of shit. Honestly, it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. So I've said to Paul, once he's sorted it all out, I'll introduce him to some journalists, and he can tell the story because it needs to be told. It's the worst example of corporate uncaring, corporate greed. How can you not say to someone, "Well done, Paul. Well done for saving someone's life"? No, you criticize him for taking time out to literally save someone's life. So you couldn't give out free newspapers. What the? I read this thing. Phil, I use your, might I suggest all the time, and now it works. Kimmy, you'll be wearing a cravat next. That's what you're going to be doing next. You'll be wearing a cravat and a jacket. Paul should write an article in that said, now, to be clear, it's not the newspaper that said that to him. I want to be very, very clear. It is not the newspaper that he is giving out copies of. It is not them. It is probably highly likely that they're not aware that their distribution company, which is a separate company, or however it goes down the line so that it can be given out to the public, they may not be aware that that is their policy. But it was a shocker to read this. I was really upset what a world. It's just madness, isn't it? So when Paul's got a new job, which he will do, I'll introduce him, as I said, to some reporters, some proper journalists, and they can tell the story. It's disgraceful. He's got it
Now.
all on his phone. Now,
Someone
if I may suggest,
someone with a story to tell is our first guest.
ooh,
See what I did there?
so good. You see what he did, everybody. This is why he's a professional. See, I'm
Thanks.
talking about newspapers and journalism, and he goes, now, someone with a story to tell, the way he just completely segues that in. Sue Crestman, I'll just read this out very quickly because it is her wedding anniversary. Disgusting company who would mention that he hasn't given out the free papers. I'd be totally in awe of someone who helped save a life. If they worked for me, they'd be praised by everyone. Absolutely right. What you need, Sue, you could bring in Paul and he can give out free rooms. Just for me and Phil.
Separate, I'm hastening to add.
Yeah, obviously. Jesus Christ. Yes, called bloody separately.
Now, I have to tell you
What?
that I'm confused. I'm sure this comes as a massive shock.
Well, there's a surprise. Come on.
No, it comes as a massive shock, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
as you know, our delectable
may suggest.
producer Sinner
Mm.
works tirelessly
Yeah.
to give us show notes. And the
He
show
gives
notes
us
tell
notes.
us.
I find the guests and he gives us notes.
Yeah, he works tirelessly to put the notes together to send us all the information we
Yeah.
need for who
Okay.
we're about to speak to.
Yeah.
But there is an unsolved mystery about our first guest because I'm told here our guest name is Samuel Clemens.
That's what I saw. That's what
But
I
the
got on my
opening
note.
line of his information
Yeah.
says Samuel Morgan. And in the
He's
digital
probably wanted by
waiting
the
room,
police. He's probably wanted by the police.
and in the digital waiting room,
He's a bigamist. I don't know. He's got three wives, three different families. He uses different names.
his name is
Fair
listed
enough.
as Samuel. So I have no
Just call him
idea.
Sam. Finished.
That's a good idea. Welcome, Samuel, to the Daily Show. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
we're
Hopefully you
okay.
are as well.
Can you solve the fabulous mystery, please, that is concerning my on-air partner?
Yeah, no. Well, the Samuel Clements was top secret. You know, you weren't meant to say that. No, I'm joking. I wrote the book as a pseudonym to try and protect a couple of people, but it's all out there now. So Morgan's actually my mother's name, and Clements is my father's name.
Well, there you go. You see, I'm glad we've got that little mystery solved. Thank you very much indeed for that.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us. There we are. That was it.
Now, it has to be said, Samuel, that your description, it absolutely sounds right up my street. A British writer with a passion for psychology. I'm listening. Tell us where your passion for psychology stems from, sir.
Wonderful. And do you want me to give you a bit of background of the book and why I wrote it?
Absolutely.
We'll absolutely get onto that in due course, mate. No mistake. There's plenty of time for that.
The stage is yours.
Passion of psychology. I think it's just a terrible self-indulgence of wanting to understand myself better. But no. For years and years, I've been fascinated with personality types and trying to understand yourself better, the parts as well as the bad parts. And I did write a book about 8 years ago, which I tried to get published, and then I allowed that, and I didn't, and I allowed that to be a writer's block for 7 odd years.
Ooh,
and then in this last
relate to
lockdown
that.
in November, when it's getting all cold and dark, I ended up getting into a relationship and suddenly being prompted to write. And for 4 months, I scribbled away, partly to avoid the relationship. And after 4 months, I had a book. And the book is about the cost and the pain of avoiding relationships and being scared of love.
Now, Samuel, I have to tell you, before you go any further, your internet connection is a teeny bit dodgy. So although we can hear you reasonably well, you're cutting out on some words. So if there is anything that you can do to improve that, that'd be great. If not, we'll try and muddle through. So don't worry about it. But it's just to let you know, just in case we suddenly lose you.
Is it audio only? Shall I turn off the camera?
No. We are in vision as well. We are in vision as well. We absolutely want to be able to see you. So that's it. I mean,
You know
I
what
haven't
it's
said
like?
that.
You know what
People
this
don't
reminds me of?
necessarily want to be able to see Russ, but we have to. So
Shut your face. You know what this reminds me of, Samuel? Well, you're way too young, but when I was a little kid and you had black and white TV and you had 2 channels and the picture was absolutely rubbish, and
Listen
you get the
with
aerial and your dad would go left a bit, Russell, go left, go right a bit, and you go, oh, that's it, stay there. I go, Dad, I can't stand it during the whole of the racing for Saturday afternoon.
It's funny
And
actually
turn it
because
like
the first few years of his life, he thought his name was Ariel. But anyway,
right.
I've just texted my housemates to say get off any videos in case you're on videos. So
Oh, that's it. Oh, that's way better. That's way better. So while you were dicking around with your book, if I may say, your relationship, what did you say for 4 months? I'll get back to you, or let's meet in 4.
did you just say, "All right"?
she was there in the midst of it. It was very peculiar because like we're having the relationship, and then suddenly I'd have to go, oh, hold on a minute, I just need to write something down. So poor girl. It was a bit unsettling, but she got used to it and accepted it.
So wait, you could have been right in the middle of dinner at one of the fanciest, schmanciest restaurants that you could take her to, and then suddenly, hold that thought, and you'd get out the notebook. Really?
Exactly.
Did she think she was being analysed, Samuel? Did she think she was being analysed during all of this?
I posed it as I'm a writer. I have to get the thoughts out, otherwise they send me crazy. And I'm trying to analyze this as I go to give the relationship a chance, which is partly partly the case.
Now,
the other case,
hang on a sec, because you picked up on a really important point there. You just said, I have to write this down, otherwise it drives me crazy. Tell us about that. Expand more on that, if you will, because that's really interesting.
I think overthinking and the paralysis that comes from just too much thinking and not enough just being in the body and in the moment, and it's something I'm wanting to get away from. But at that stage in my life, definitely writing is a way to get it out and in a way feel a bit more empowered, less tied up with thoughts. I now have them down, and then I can continue. It's just something I've done for quite a while.
You've just come up with the most amazing expression I've heard for a long time on this show: the paralysis of overthinking.
That's really good. We like that. We invented that, Phil.
Yeah,
don't let him know. Do not let the guest know. We invented it. That was us.
Yeah.
You can use it for two pence a time.
Sometimes, Samuel, we think that the paralysis of overthinking can be a problem. See the way that I turned it back? He won't have noticed that we've already grabbed that. That's brilliant. Fine. It's a great phrase, Samuel. Thank you. That is marvelous. So glad you thought of it, Phil. It's true though. Overthinking stuff. It's absolutely, someone who I admired a great deal at the time, and I don't know where you sit on this particular aspect, Samuel, but it's like the important thing in life is to make a decision. It'll either be right or it'll be wrong, but just make the decision and get on with it, rather than at the time you've done that, the world, everything's moved on. It's too late.
You sound like my dad, Russ. It's good advice, but
well, did you ever go to? Did your mum ever hang out with nightclubs in the 60s? No, just kidding. Move on.
I read that if you didn't have a strong father figure as a child, it's harder to make decisions as an adult. And if you didn't have a certain nurturing relationship with your mother, it's often harder to form certain relationships. That might all be nonsense, but it's quite an interesting.
I don't think it's nonsense.
It's funny you say that, actually, because I was thinking the other day whether or not I want to get into a new relationship.
You were?
No, I'm joking. He said, did you hear what he said?
No, well, yeah, I heard it.
Did you hear what our guest said? He said that
to every word. He's our guest, of course. He's an important fellow.
Okay, but he just said that sort of if you didn't have a strong father figure, you tend to overthink things, not make decisions. If you did, if you didn't have a caring mother influence, you don't necessarily get into relationships. So I said I was thinking the other day about going into a relationship. It was combining the two and coming up with a bit of humor. Work with me here.
I smile.
Don't embarrass me in front of the guests.
Samuel, don't encourage him, for the love of God. Please, just don't. You seem like a highly intelligent, interesting man. And we're being pulled down by this jackanapes. I think it's very interesting. I can talk about my relationship with my dad for ages, but I'm not going to. So The thing is to act. The thing is to act. What's the name of the book, by the way? I've forgotten, and I should know. Go on.
It is Postponement, a memoir on avoiding love
Put it up
and
to the camera.
commitment.
Put it up to the camera so everyone can see. That's great.
Oh,
Postponement.
look at that.
Whoa, Samuel Morgan. A memoir on avoiding love and commitment.
Do the feathers have any significance? There's your background there. There's backdrop. You seem to have feathers as the picture in the thing. I'm just wondering whether or not there were any significance to that.
Yeah, free floating, not quite fixed on anything. Oh, pretty feather there, pretty feather there. It's a bit like the flighty nature of someone who's avoidant and always looking for dreams and other ideals here and there.
Is it on Amazon? Ask Kimmy Lashmar. Is it? Can you get it on Amazon?
It is. It's on Amazon. Yeah, self-published.
Excellent. Nice cover, by the way. Very nice cover. Although my cousin will be looking at the cover with the white feathers and thinking it's a message from her mum. She always thinks it's her mum if she sees a feather somewhere.
I often think that, actually. I don't mean that I think that a feather is a symbol from your Aunt Sylvia. I'm just saying that it's. I think it's a case that sort of a feather is a message from beyond.
I always think it's just a message that a bird's, got a bit of dandruff, needs some head and shoulders, it's lost a feather. It's kind of it. I don't think there's much, but it's what is the key advice that you would give if you're trying, because so many people do avoid relationships and do avoid making decisions. So what's the key pillars of your thinking here?
Well, this is really a book about how not to live. So it's I'm not, there's lots of personal development books out there and all offering advice, and this, I don't particularly like those. And this was really just an honest account, no holds barred, of 4 months in a relationship with someone with struggling basically with things like attraction anxiety, with wanting to avoid the relationship, with fear around getting close. So it's not really a nice package of, hey, this is what you should do. It's really just, you're not alone. And so many men have said to me, or been embarrassed almost, and like, oh my goodness, this is me. But very brave of you to write it. So they would never really dare admit it. And then
so it's more of a case of it's what happened to you. It's your personal experience. You're not saying how one should react in that circumstance. It's just, it's kind of a, this happened to me, therefore, if someone else knows it happened to me, it might be okay if it happened to them, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a couple of things. It's a kind of kick up the arse, like, this is no way to live. It's also you're not alone. But it's been quite, very different reactions. It's quite controversial, you might say. There's certain things that most people wouldn't share, and lots of people have really laughed, which I like. But some women have found it particularly difficult, because there's things in there I don't celebrate. They're attitudes that I try to own and say, this is coming from my own, let's say, lack of self-like, and I project out. And often that's around, oh, that woman isn't quite right for me, or her bum's too big, or her legs aren't right. And that is very triggering to a lot of women that are insecure, or maybe don't like that aspect of men. But it's a harsh reality that many men I've spoken to struggle with this.
But you are allowed to have an opinion. And if you don't find somebody attractive, then you don't find somebody attractive. There's no right or wrong. Now, you shouldn't be judging that individual as a person because of what they look like. That no. I totally get that, Samuel. You can't say X, Y, Z because they look like that's an irrelevancy, because that's not them. That's not their personality or their mind or their ability. Put that to one side. If you're talking about romance, which you are, and wanting a relationship, which you are, if you don't find someone attractive, that's the end of the story. Whether it's right or wrong is irrelevant. It's how you feel.
I agree. I think the message, though, is that fear is very subtle and sneaky, and that this book is about how fear can manifest as judgments, especially about appearance. So there's always going to be these excuses of why that person isn't quite right, whether it's their personality or whether it's aesthetics. So I've met some men where avoidance is like mine, it's aesthetic, and other men where it's a personality trait they keep not liking. But the message is, it's fear, and it's going to stop you having a relationship. And that's what I'm trying to get past.
There's two things which I think are getting, and I obviously didn't write the book, but help me out here, because there's two things which I think are getting slightly intertwined, or in my mind anyway. I understand totally about being fearful. And because you're fearful of, let's say, commitment, you will come up with every excuse in the world. I get that. Oh, you know, I don't like it. Her eyebrows are too small, or whatever. I mean, you can be as ridiculous as you like and find a reason not to go out with somebody. But that's one thing. I get that. But if you don't find somebody attractive, you don't find somebody attractive. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's human nature. It's all about chemistry.
I agree with that. I think this book's more about the extreme end where you find too much. There's always an excuse. But yeah, I totally agree. You've got to satisfy the attraction and that side.
What were you? No, you've used the word fear several times. What were you afraid of?
Well, you know, that's the key thing, and it's still being explored. But you know, part of the book involves therapy sessions. So actually working with the therapy and bringing that into the book so people can see that. But it's fear, I think, ultimately around rejection or not being good enough. And so therefore you push people away before they can push you away.
Rather than they reject you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not good enough because you believe deep down you're not good enough. Now, again, it's theory, but the way I've explored it, it seems like there's some real truth in that for me.
So what is that? Is that low does that come under the umbrella of low self-esteem?
Well, this is all language gains, but it could do. I think it's probably deeper. It feels deeper than that. It feels like, you know, and some of us have a real early experiences as boys and girls, which influences how we then relate to people. And that it's trying to uncover that. It's trying to take responsibility for it and walk on a new path. Because I do want a relationship.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm admitting that how I'm behaving in this book and with people is not going to allow a relationship. And that's a tragic thing. For me.
What did you think? I get that. I go through life and I sort of analyze stuff and think, well, what is the worst that's going to happen? And once you look at the very worst, it usually doesn't happen. But if you think, well, what's the worst? Then you can dial back from it. So what did you think the worst was going to happen to you? What was the worst that was going to happen?
In which context? In which scenario?
Well, and while you were avoiding relationships, what did you think was the worst that was going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know if I can fully articulate it yet. I think it's a fear of being hurt by. I think it's a fear of being rejected and being hurt, which is, you know, just saying it sounds ridiculous.
No, it doesn't sound ridiculous at all. No, it doesn't sound ridiculous. It's a very real thing.
Yeah, some part of me feels it's the most dangerous thing in the world, but the adult part knows. No, it's not. And I think it's trying to reconcile those two. And I think for many people, that type of journey is not an overnight journey.
Do you think you've finished your journey now? You're in this relation. Are you in the relationship now?
No, that one did end. I feel like I've made good progress, and the book has been part.
So the one that you, the 4-month one, that's finished.
Yeah, the one that was this book is based around. We did try for a bit longer since after she read the book. That was pretty traumatic for her.
Did she get annoyed?
Also very traumatic.
Was she annoyed? Was she upset? Was she flattered? Was she surprised? Shocked?
Well, she knew I was writing it, but she actually said it was not as bad as she thought it would be, which was a great relief. But her biggest concern was the relationship ending, like things that I'd written about, you know, personal appearance and stuff, she didn't really care. She's quite confident, but I think it was painful, very painful for her to read. So it was a big decision whether or not to publish it or not. But and in the end, we decided not to carry on.
What would you have done, Samuel, if she said, you can't publish this? This is all personal stuff between you and I. What would you have done?
Well, I'd already okayed that with her, like near the beginning, like when I said this is what we're doing. So I'd had that conversation, so I didn't go too far down the path. But if she then changed her mind, I would just fully anonymize and change all the character details so that it's impossible to tell that it's
So
her.
do people know? Don't tell me her name, please. But do people know?
Absolutely,
This is, you know, Doreen Smith of 32 The High Street, or
no,
they don't?
No.
So
no, that would be wrong.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to gauge how far you went with this thing. Because I could not, I write, and I could not imagine, but I write fiction, but I couldn't imagine turning around to someone and saying, "Oh, yeah, we're about to start a relationship, but I'm going to put it all in a book. Is that okay?" Because if somebody said that to me, I would be out of the door, before the end of the sentence.
Absolutely bonkers. Yeah, no, I mean, I've never done that before, but I think it was just the lockdown, it was the period, and it was considered almost like writing an ongoing diary. And so from that perspective, it was, it then suddenly built up more and more into a book that I wanted to share.
I get the thing about the diary, but diaries are, well, I never keep a diary. I just keep appointments. I actually can't bear looking back at diaries because it just makes me feel physically ill. It's a weird thing. So I just write, 3 o'clock dentist or so. That's it. That's my diary.
Probably wise. Probably much wiser.
I don't want to put down my fit. You just look at it and go, "Oh God, you're such a dick. What were you thinking?" But you can only make the decisions at the time, can't you? So, yep. But diaries are private. This is, this grew into a book, and it looks like a pretty big book as well. It's not like a pamphlet. This is quite a thick old book here.
Yeah.
How many words? How many words?
Well, 200 and something pages. So yes, it's a book. People read it very quickly, apparently. So
what's the reaction been to it, Samuel?
Yeah, so you're right. So some people are like, well, a bit too personal, or it could have been a diary, and I was aware it was very exposing, but I was obviously ready to expose that part of my journey. And it's only an aspect of my life, so it's not the entire story. But I felt strongly enough that it would be valuable to enough men. And just having enough conversations about it since, I think it has been, but it was definitely risky to do and kind of crazy. But I think there's enough positivity that is going to come from the book to overweigh that. But the reaction has been, as I say, a lot of laughter, a lot of cringing, a lot of disbelief that I had the courage to do it. Maybe when they say courage, they mean fool. But also a lot of men, incredible messages of, wow, I've really struggled with this. Thank you for writing it.
It's yeah. I'm looking at the reactions, and a lot of people are going like that. They're quite surprised. It's an unusual tack to take, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, and now it's out there. It's out in the public domain. Are people wary that if they talk to you, they're going to end up in another book?
I wouldn't do that again. I think it was just something. I mean, I'm not sure I would want a potential new partner to read this. but
if they look you up, and they go, "Oh yeah, he's a nice looking guy." I'm going to, "Oh my God, I don't want to be in a book." It could be that.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen again. It's funny you mentioned fiction. I think it would be that's my next project really, and I think that thinking about other people and other characters, that's a very good step in the direction of moving from something very, if I'm being a negative brush, very self-indulgent, to something that's fiction, which is about having to think about other people, and symbolically that's quite a good thing. So the book is very self-indulgent, but I felt there was enough value in it that it would resonate with other men. So yeah, it was definitely risky, but I'm standing by it, and I've had some great reactions. But it's
have you found it cathartic?
Oh, absolutely. There was definitely a shift after getting that down and saying, okay, this was a chapter, or is this a chapter I'm closing in my life? Definitely, yeah.
Do you want to read? Have you got a little section you could read to us?
My ear.
No, I saw that. There we are. Now we can hear you beautifully now. Is there a little section you could read to us? I'm trying to get a handle on this, and I'm kind of fascinated and aghast all at the same time. To be honest with you, just there's a bit that might give us a little flavor.
So yeah, I would start right at the beginning.
Okay, that's a very good place to start.
Give you a little flavour. Yeah, you could sing while I find the.
No. Start at the very beginning. That's a very good place to start.
Okay, I mean,
here we go.
It's a whole. I'll read bits, but this is the first chapter, and it's a bit about the struggle. So
off you go.
We're facing each other now, still embracing. It feels so good. I can't recall a recent time I felt quite so light and unburdened. And then it comes, a tickle of a thought, a morsel of possibility, like a note slipped under a locked door. I could love you. I'm awed at the possibility. The words feel alien, but natural. I want to give this a chance, I whisper internally, to Lucy or to myself, I cannot say. I'm just feeling so good and open and alive, and suddenly in danger. It hits me like vertigo. I'm on the edge of a precipice, sensing the falling. That falling in love would be like falling. I'd lose control. Is this what I fear? I'd get sucked in. What if I'm tricked by this person who may not be what they seem? Or what if, yes, I sense this might be the cause of my fear. What if my capacity to love is so great that if I do let down my guard and open my heart, it would be earth-shattering? There'll be a finality about it, unstoppable for the long term. What if it's with the wrong person? Whether I'd be happy or not doesn't seem to factor as an issue. And then we go on, and it's a bit about.
Blimey O'Reilly, Samuel. Talk about overthinking.
Oh yes.
Jeez.
Yes.
Wow. Just ask her out. What's the worst going to happen here? Too much of my philosophy. Wow, that is like, you gotta be in it to win it, haven't you? A bit like the lottery.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a bit like the lottery. You might get burnt. You might have a great time. It's going to be somewhere between the two.
That's why I say it's a book about how not to live. But unfortunately, a lot of men I think too much, and women.
Oh yeah,
and women as well.
Of course, it's not just a male. It's absolutely not just a male thing. Although the men do get tarred with the brush that everything is superficial, and she doesn't look like this and she doesn't look like that. I think that's oversimplification of the whole thing, and I'm sure the women are the same. But as I said, if you find someone attractive, you do, and if you don't, you don't. That's all there is to it. Wow, maybe I guess go through life in too simpler a way.
No, it sounds
if I was your mate, if I'd have been your mate back then, I'd have said, mate, fill your boots. I just said, just fill your boots, have a good time. That's what I would have said to you. It's really, really interesting that you clearly, from just reading that little bit, you're absolutely agonizing over this, aren't you? Agonizing over it.
It's a mental defense, and it's terribly sad. It leads to suffering. It leads to not, hurting other people, and so that's why it's just a harsh reflection of 4 months of, hey, stop thinking so much, people. Stop thinking so much myself, and live. But it's easier to say that than actually do it. It's like, how do you do it? And that's the journey now. Actually thinking less, living more. But boy, I'm not the only one that's struggling with that.
Oh, so, absolutely.
Russ, if you're lucky if you think less.
Well, I overthink a lot of things, and some things I couldn't give a monkey's about, and I just go in there and just do it. and let's see, let's damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead. That's kind of my motto. I just because I think that's how you get stuff done. That's why I don't wear those earbuds. Are you all right? You've broken it.
Your producer told me to wear them.
Oh no, you have to, because otherwise we get an echo. That's why. Because otherwise, I mean, well, I don't do them because I know that I'd take the dog for a walk. I'd get 3 feet out and I'd drop them. And that would be that. That would be absolutely hopeless.
We've lost your colleague, by the way. He ran off.
I fired him. Basically, he was just. I'll be honest with you, Samuel. He was annoying me. I didn't have to overthink it. I didn't have to overthink it at all. I just fired him. I sent him a note. I said, "You're fired. You're always rubbish, and I'm going to act like the BBC now, and try and find an audience. Of course, it doesn't exist." Right. You said interesting. Kimmy Lashmas. This is a really nice thing. Almost like a poet than an author. It was very poetical. Has anyone said that to you?
Yeah, that's
to me. It's almost like I hear everything.
Did you not get the memo that I'd fired you?
No, when did you send that?
As soon as Samuel started speaking, because you were upsetting him. You're upsetting him. He said, "Get rid of him or I'm walking." And I said, "No, you're too important to guess. We can lose Phil." I've heard people said that it's very poetic, what you've written.
Yeah, they have, and there's definitely scenes in here where it's meditations, and so they do get quite poetic. The slightly different realities I go to, or trying to just become more peaceful and think less. Yeah, they are quite poetic. So yeah, I like that as a style. I enjoy a bit of poetry, but some of the give you a flavour of some of the chapters. Give you a flavour for maybe where this goes. The hating yourself thing. If only you could hear me. It's probably aimed at parents. The beauty of existence, fragile and fleeting. Isn't love so much easier? You need to grow up. Give yourself an effing break, mate.
Yeah, go with that.
Stupid boy tears. Remember, perfectionism is your Achilles heel. I'm a child and she can't hear me. So it's a real mix all over the place. Oh, and you probably won't
is
like
a confusing list there you got.
Two more. What I'd give for a simple cow brain, and is she too heavy to be my girlfriend?
Wow,
it's harsh.
Wow.
Good Lord,
it's harsh.
Samuel, where do you think the origins of this came from? Where do you sort of first remember overthinking stuff, or have you always been like that?
I sense in me and other people I've spoken to, a young person that would just love that hand on their shoulder and reassurance that you're okay. And life's crazy and chaotic and messy, but ultimately you're okay. You're loved, you're lovable, and you can love, and you can go in this world and make your path. And so what I'm saying with that is I think it comes from an early insecurity and lack of confidence, and there's no blame there at all. It's just looking at what it is for me and trying to own that now and be the man that can give that to myself now, rather than looking all the time for a pretty girl to satisfy that or a job to satisfy that. It's trying to learn to self-nurture.
Do you feel like you've made progress on that front?
Absolutely. I mean, a big part was, this is a personal book, so let's talk about it. But a big part of this was my mother reading the book and absolutely freaking out and being devastated. She, but what it's led to is a new, better relationship, I believe, with my parents, with my mother. And so there's lots of little things like that have happened that have helped me separate from this part of me and move on.
Did she think, my God, I didn't really know him at all?
More that she felt rejected. She felt
by the book. She felt rejected by the book.
By things that I was saying in the book. Yeah, she felt rejected.
Wow.
And that
wasn't rejected. Wow, that's really interesting, because I would imagine there's sort of either one or two reactions. Sort of either sort of maybe anger at sort of how could you say this, or I would have thought maybe guilt was the other thing potentially, as if like somehow
guilt, confusion, not understanding. and also rejection. Yeah, but it's been good process to rebuild that relationship and reassure. But it's very interesting because the rejection is the wound that we both have, and it's been very interesting to see that clearer than ever. So the book has helped me see things more clearly, and therefore I have more power over it. That's the idea and the hope.
Bravo.
Are you qualified in the? You're qualified to write the book because you've written it. Do you have a background in all of this, or what's your background?
No, and I make no claims to that in the book. It's just a man's experience and thought process. But I've been, I mentioned I involve in there some therapy sessions. So I've got the experience of the sort of psychology, studying a bit of psychology and having therapy to talk a bit in that language. But I'm not myself a trained therapist.
So you do another job. You don't have to tell us what it is, but you do a job which is not allied to. Yeah. Okay. Well, the first thing is congratulations on writing a book, because that is no mean feat. I'm now over 12 months, or even more behind with my second book, which is disgraceful, but there we are. So well done. Well done on your personal journey. I think that's a good thing. And chill out is my just my advice. Just chill out and have some fun. You're a young guy, life is over like that. So just enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
In the immortal words of
the brief time that we have spoken, I've zero doubts that you are capable of achieving whatever you want to, sir, just in case no one's ever told you that.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Phil.
Quick question coming in from Edinburgh. Do those thoughts go into your friendships as well? Or just your relation?
They don't actually, no. That's interesting. It's only a person that could potentially be a love or a partner. Yeah.
Okay. Wish you well. Well done
Best
on the
of luck.
book. Just hold out the cover once more. Just hold out the cover so we can just see it again for everybody.
There you go.
Thanks
there
for
we
listening,
are.
everyone.
Postponement. There you go.
A memoir on avoiding love and commitment. Okie dokie. Thank you
Fantastic.
so much.
Thanks, chaps, and go well.
Farewell.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Wow.
Well, there we go. Now, do you know what?
What?
There's actually something I never actually told Samuel, which in amongst that, the first thing I thought of is that when he was reading the excerpt from the book, is it struck me the ability to articulate his thoughts is extraordinary. And the number of people who don't have that ability and almost drown in their thoughts. That's what struck me. It's an amazing, that's a skill.
It's a skill. It's very, very brave. What he's done is extremely brave. Extremely brave. As I said, I write fiction. I won't, although there's an.
But to be fair, though, I think that is a therapy for you as well.
Because people, when they read the first book, they go, "God, you're really dark," and I went, "You don't know the half of it."
No, but it is. But I think I've known you long enough to know that sort of that's your catharsis as well. Is that when you write like that? Okay, you're not necessarily writing about yourself per se. It might be inspired. Might be really inspired in elements of your life. I don't know, really but you're not writing about yourself.
Yeah, no. Definitely.
And I don't know whether or not you'd be that transparent that you would write about yourself.
Well, there's a book called Shout at the Moon, which I wrote with my late wife, and that's about me and our situation that we had.
I know, but I don't mean to be rude, but I feel like because you wrote it with Sally, I wonder whether or not sort of maybe afterwards, whether or not you'd be that. I don't think brave's the word. I don't think brave's the word. I just don't think you'd have the inclination to do that. And correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not following. Go on.
No, I'm saying I don't think, because I don't think that you would. And again, like I said, you must correct me if I've misjudged. But I feel as though that you wouldn't necessarily now have the, for want of a better term, inclination to write about yourself. I feel that sort of because you and Sally wrote that together, that maybe that was somehow easier because it wasn't just about your emotional.
Oh, we didn't write it together at all. We we started to try and write together. That lasted about 4.5 minutes before we had another screaming, blazing, shouting match at each other, effing and blinding and storming off. And then we realized we would write separate chapters completely. We never wrote together.
Okay.
We wrote totally. We said, right, you cover this, I'll cover that. You cover the other thing.
Okay, that's
we
different.
did it
I'm sorry,
like
I didn't realize it was written like that.
We never, no, we couldn't. We absolutely lost. It literally lasted 4.5 minutes before we had a screaming, shouting match at each other. So it was somewhat tempestuous, to put it mildly. So, which was fine. It's part of the fun. So, so we didn't write it together. We wrote it at the same time, but we didn't sit down side by side because that was absolutely impossible. I can't write with other people. No interest in doing it either. I can't do it. She couldn't do it at the time. But I absolutely can't write with other people. It's impossible.
But do you feel as though that you might be ever tempted, like, given, especially, let's just say, hypothetically, the opportunity came up to maybe write about sort of why you felt the need to start men's radio or co-start men's radio? Would you ever be tempted to sort of let it maybe shed some light into your feelings that led you down that path? And we know why you did it. We know why you did, because it was the article.
I'm pretty transparent because I think, we do it because we feel passionate about it, because we want to try and make a change, and we rail and scream and bang our heads against the wall when we look around the world and think, we can't be the only people who feel like this. This is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. So it comes from trying to make a change, even a little change, and trying to help, and from a huge place of anger. For me, huge place of anger at the unfairness of it all, at the inequality of it all. You look around the world and you think, God, this is just not a place I particularly want to be in, or I just don't recognize this anymore. We've touched on it today. We've touched on it today. The nonsense you're seeing going on in central London, that's just part of it. You think, this is ridiculous. I park on a single yellow line. I'm pursued by the courts. Don't pay your BBC license fee. It's the end of the world. You're right up there with the Crays and the Richardsons because you didn't pay your stinking license fee, right? But you can disrupt the whole of one of the greatest cities in the world. That's fine. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Do you ever feel as though...
Why are you analysing me today?
No, I'm asking a question. I'm not analysing. Do you ever feel that sort of life has... I don't know about you, but I feel like sort of this world in which we live in has imploded really quickly. As in 20 years ago, I don't think this is anything like what we're like now.
Well, I'm always very cautious, Philip, about looking at
reminiscing. I know.
No. I think people look back and they think, oh, these were the great days of this, or this was the great. And then you look at it in detail, and there was a lot of shitty things there. As people, oh, you could leave your front door open, and certain things have totally changed.
You can leave your front door open, just don't expect the pram to be there when you get back. But anyway.
I knew you were going to say, you look at certain things now. Stupid example, you mentioned pram. When I was a little kid, everyone had the big prams. They didn't have the buggies. You had the big prams. That's because buggies hadn't been invented. So the mums would leave these, and you'd go to a supermarket, and they hadn't even got Tesco's. I think it was McFisheries at the time, which would be nothing to you. And all the prams would be outside. You look at that today, and you go, "What?" I said,
I'm fairly sure Tesco would have existed. It might not exist in the way it does now.
No, it was Tesco. Before it became Tesco's, there was a thing called the first supermarket I can remember as a kid, apart from Sainsbury's, was McFisheries, which eventually I think became taken over by and became Tesco's. But it was called McFisheries. God knows, I have no idea why. I was little.
But what I mean is, Tesco's as a company is so old that it would have been around then. It just might not be what it is now. That's all.
It is old. Not as old as Ray Gelato. I mean, that's old. Jesus.
Hi, Ray.
That is old, mate. Mate.
That's your introduction, if ever I heard it. Good Lord.
I was just going to say a rude word there, but I'm not going to do it.
What a spot.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Thank you for being early. Nice shirt.
Thanks
Loving
very much.
the shirt.
Yeah,
Loving
yeah.
the shirt. My cousin Francine will be thrilled now because you're her pin-up.
Oh,
I'm
really?
embarrassing her. Yeah, she's. Oh,
I got a nice
he's
shirt
so
on.
gorgeous. He's so gorgeous. That Ray. Oh, he's so gorgeous, and he love. I say no. He's a horrible human being, and you won't like him. That's right. It's the way that I keep everybody's marriages safe. That's the main thing. Thank you for joining us, Ray Gelato.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
This is
for
a
doing
treat.
our wonderful. It is a thing. Thank you for doing our lovely theme tune, which was much appreciated. Much appreciated. Now, you, if you don't know, Ray is one of the foremost jazz saxophonists in the country. Ray Gelato and the Giants, sensational band. And as you know, I love having Ray on, as does Phil, because I just want to call it Ray's Rants. I just want to call the section Ray's Rants. In fact, I ran out of time yesterday, and I was going to get you to do a quick jingle about Ray's Rants, Ray's Rants, Ray's Rants.
We'll do it next time.
That would do that. You've got
Said
something
with such promise.
Yeah, we'll do it next time. Yeah, right. That's
I
good.
haven't recovered yet.
No, tell us why you were. We've got to know this story, right? You're a musician. Career has been.
Is he?
Well, he picks up a sax and sings.
Oh.
What, did I come on here to be insulted or what?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, sure. You are the comedy light relief. Now, why did you get upset?
Hang on. Ramsey says, Ray, did you ever play with or meet Charlie Watts?
Let's have a think about it. No, I never met Charlie Watts, but I know that Charlie Watts saw us at a concert supporting B.B. King at the Royal Festival Hall back in the 90s. And,
wow.
And on the grapevine, it was he was very complimentary, so that was nice. But I never met him. I think he might have come to a gig at Dingwall's that we did as well, because a lot of stars, so to speak, would come to see us down there. So, but I know that he did like the band, because he saw us at this B.B. King support.
He was fantastic. Let's just stop before we get into why you're on Ray's Rant. He wasn't a rock drummer at all. He was a jazz drummer.
He was a jazzer. Yeah, his whole heart and soul was behind jazz music. And he took a massive band out in the 80s, I think, called the Charlie Watts Orchestra, which had two drummers, him and a guy called John Stevens, and they had an all-star lineup of all the British jazz talent of the time, old and young. So they had some of the old guard like Don Weller and people like that, but they also had Courtney Pine, who was
oh my gosh,
making his name then. Yeah, the Charlie Watts big band, and he paid for the whole thing himself. They toured the States and everything. Yeah. Paid for the whole thing.
There's a great album, because everyone always just thinks, he's the drummer with the Rolling Stones, but there's a great album he did. He probably did several with his big band.
Yeah, he did. I think he did do several, and he also did ones with albums with quartets with all the great British jazz players. So he was always trying to champion the music. Yeah, he's I would call the guy a true player, but also a true fan. Remained a fan probably till the end of his days, which is quite rare sometimes for musicians who have been in the game as long as he has.
What was I know this isn't why you're here, but I was a huge.
But he's going to carry on regardless.
I am, but he was because I feel very sad that he's gone. He was always my favourite Stone. Always loved Charlie Watts more than the others. What was it about him that was so special from your perspective as a professional musician? Well,
a couple of things. I think he was, very much part of that sound of the Rolling Stones. He knew tradition, he knew jazz, he knew the blues, he knew the old style rhythm and blues like James Brown and Ray Charles and people like that and beyond. And he had longevity, that's all you could really say. The guy was a legend. And when one of these people leave us, it's extremely sad because they'll never be replaced. It's the end of an era.
Totally. Couldn't agree more.
And of course, within about 2 days, the Stones are still continuing with their No Filter tour across America, which I know they probably contractually have to do.
You might get the call, Russ.
Ramsey says he visited the Baked Potato in LA to see Hal Blaine just a couple of years ago. Sad loss. Is that a famous jazz venue, the Baked Potato?
I'm not aware of it.
No, not
honest.
Right. So here's lockdown. You're going absolutely potty because you want to go on tour. And then, and you had to turn down a load of tours and stuff like that because of the COVID and the restrictions. And eventually, the opportunity arises. Talk us through this absolute nightmare.
Well, how long you got?
We're in no rush. Off you go.
All right. Well, basically, you know, as most people know, we've all had a terrible time in this. Of us in the entertainment industry, have had a shocking time in this pandemic, and you know, I don't particularly want to work abroad at the moment, but we don't have a choice because we've been 17, 18 months without any work at all, you know, and what has come in has been cancelled, as you've rightly said, because of the COVID thing. So we've got a chance to go away to Italy. It's been in a couple of months and it's been on, it's been off. It was going to be 3 concerts, and it was whittled down to 2. And we're not talking top dollar, but we're talking what people can afford. You know, we're all realistic and we're all trying to get back. And we do not, it's not like we're going as tourists. And I'm not condemning tourists. I'm not going to condemn anybody. But we don't have a choice. We have to feed our family, and we all need to earn. We need to work. The promoters over there need to be bringing bands. Otherwise, that shrivels up and dies. The festivals need to have acts. So anyway, we tried to make this work. And it was the gigs were incredibly successful, but it took me 2 weeks of research before I thought of. I didn't think of any of that. My job's a musician, but I didn't think of the music. I was thinking of the forms of the testing, and what I uncovered with all the testing was the disparity between the is that the right word? I don't know if I said it right, but whatever it is, the difference between the prices is just ridiculous. I mean, I was finding £100 difference between certain companies. And I eventually whittled it down to a few, and some would say, well, PCR tests 38 quid. And you go on the thing, and after jumping through many hoops and putting your passport in and all this thing that you're having to put in 20 million times, it would take, it would say the tests are all booked, it's 98 quid. So anyway, it sucks you in for 28 quid, did you say, or something? Yeah, and these are government recommended sites on the government website, right? And a lot of them are absolute scams. It's a disgrace. And also, I did find 2 testing centers that were reasonable that I'd recommend. But the fun really, so we did all that. We did the passenger locator forms and all this kind of thing. You have to do one in Italy, one for Italy when you go out, and one in English for the English customs when you come back. And I thought we'd done it all. You know, I sent all the files to the guys, everything with the locator forms and the test centers. I said, look, book all this. We'll reimburse you. I thought I'd done it all right. All of these things, bear in mind, fellas, you're encouraged to do everything online because you've got the QR code, and it doesn't say print. Obviously, some of the documents I did print, and we did print, not all of them. But we get to Heathrow, basically. So we've gone through all this without thinking about one note of the program I'm going to play in Italy.
Let me stop you for a minute, Ray.
Sure.
Because one of the things people are not realizing, you're a 7-piece band.
Yeah.
So on top of what people have to understand, and why this is so difficult, especially for you, because it's Ray Gelato and the Giants, it's your band, you're the front, and this is you. Not only have you got all the expenses of getting a 7-piece band out there, this new level of expense is really prohibitive, isn't it?
It's insanity. It was 700 quid, which I had to charge onto the promoter, but ultimately it comes, or rather the agent, but ultimately that comes out of our fee, I guess, at the end. You know, I don't know the ins and outs of how they're working it out, but whoever it is, we're all struggling, including them, you know, the promoters and agents over there, and it's madness. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it was about 700 quid all in all for the whole band. Wow. With the testing I found, and that was the cheaper end. You know, if I hadn't just been slapdash and said, oh well, this will do, and charge the promoter this, you could be looking at double that, because some of these tests were I mean, my local pharmacy, I'm not going to say who it is, I used to like them, they were charging 86 or 87 pounds for the PCR test upon return, the day 2. So anyway, we had to do, just so everyone knows, we had to do day 24 hours before you've got to go. 24 hours before, I used to get my stuff ready. I used to pack and think about certain things. No, you've got to go to town and all these locations. You've got to do the test, which is the same one that I do at home. In fact, it's less comprehensive because we got ones at home here that do the nose and the throat. I don't know. Yeah. This one, that you just sit down. The nurse went boom, 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 bang. That's it. So I could have done that at home, and that was 28 quid. They give you the results a couple of hours later. You get the results through on an app. So you've got to download an app, and you've got to put all these things. You've got to keep putting in your details. So you're entering the same details on all these different sites. There's no uniformity or anything, which makes it very stressful. So you've got to do that. So we turn up at Heathrow, and they said, have you got your PCR? Have you got your antigen test they wanted? So he says, yeah. Showed them the antigen test. They were fine. They didn't ask for anything else. We get to Rome, and that's where the fun started, because we had a double flight. We had a double flight going to Palermo in Sicily. So we get to Rome, we get off the plane, everyone's got their tests and all their documents on their phone, and you've got to have there's a million different things with the same info. And we filled in this complicated passenger locator form, which is always tripping you up every few minutes about where you've got to put everything in, where you're staying in Italy, the whole thing. Get to Rome, we have to go through security again, which I had no idea why. So you've got to take all your belt off, all your stuff. Okay, and when you get through security, there's a load of other bods standing there who say, we want to see your locator form, your passenger locator form. So we get it out on the phone with the QR code, as you're told to do by the Italian authorities. On your phone, you save it as a PDF, as you probably know. We're not accepting that. We want the printed documents. So some of us have printed them out, some, including me, hadn't, because so I said, sorry, we don't have them. You must fill this form here. So they shove a form in your face. Now, bear in mind, everyone's crowding from different flights. So there's no social distancing whatsoever. There's chaos. There's nowhere to do the forms, nowhere to fill them in, no station or no tables. They put nothing out, no pens. So everyone's scrabbling for pens. Everyone's getting stressed. A few people who had printed them out walked on. Say I hadn't. And I'm like trying to do this form, and it's horrendous. And then eventually you have to get it done. There's no logic behind this at all. And they're talking. So one thing is you're talking about trying to keep people safe from COVID by doing the tests. And on the other hand, they're crowding people together at the bloody airport.
No, it's absolutely outrageous, seriously. And the other thing is, we should mention as well, by the way, that the news was announced this week. I know it doesn't help you, Ray, at all in your experience. But they have suggested that the government is looking into, if not trying to crack down on those who do charge the most ridiculous amount of money for PCR tests. But I should point out, too little, too late. That should have been from the word go. It's ridiculous. If you're going to insist on something being done, either make sure everyone can afford it or make sure it's affordable.
Can I make another suggestion?
I was going to ask a question. Let me ask a question.
Yes,
let me ask a question. They took out the seats on the bus, you told me.
Well, this is so we do these forms.
This is nuts.
We do these forms. We get to Palermo Airport, and we get through okay. And then when we had the next flight, we did the concert. Then the next day or two, we go back to Palermo Airport, and it's absolutely mobbed. You cannot move. There's no social distancing. I've got the mask on for 12 hours on 2 different flights. We've all had to. Of course, we have to do that. But there's no, and what they do is, as Russ just said, they block off the seats, right, and say, because of COVID, you can't sit here. So every other seat's blocked off. There's no seats at the airport, so you're sitting on the floor. And they do the same in the airport bus. So you're packed in the airport bus, nose to nose with people, as you saw with the pictures I sent. Risking getting sick, risking all these travelers getting COVID, whatever. The whole airport was a zoo. I'm afraid it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And then we're expected to uphold our part of the bargain. The airport don't. Anyway, the other thing was, as we're coming home, there's a massive queue, and the poor lady checking us in on Alitalia. At Heathrow, they got people walking up and down the queue checking the documents. They had one lady to check 2 flights, right? One poor person on, and she was expected to check the vaccination certificates, everything, so everyone's scrabbling with these things, and it took 10 to 15 minutes for each passenger to check in
per person.
Oh my god!
Per person, you get the work now. So I'm going through. So you've got to keep showing your papers every time. Your papers. We want your. So you've got to keep getting all your stuff out. It's not just we had to have an antigen test in Italy. So we're tired. We've travelled the whole day. The next day, everyone wanted to lie in. No, got to meet in the lobby at 10. And get taken for this antigen. We get taken for the antigen test, same thing, up the nose like I could do. You get the results, everybody's negative. We get stopped by an Alitalia. So this was all Alitalia, actually. They're an awful company. I've got to tell you, I'm sorry, but the worst.
I should stress they're not here to answer themselves, but still.
They're not, but I've got to say as I find it. And we get stopped by the Alitalia lady as we go on to the connecting flight back to London. And she says,
I'm laughing because I know what's next.
I want to see your antigen test. So we take the antigen test out. We've got the certificate. Negativo. She said, it's got to be written in English, otherwise you might not be able to board the flight.
I'm sorry, what?
It's got to be written
Ray
in
told
English.
me this on the phone, and I thought I must have misheard.
Or we might prevent you may be prevented from boarding the flight. So we said, anyway,
So
America.
just point out, sorry, that this is an Alitalia flight. To anyone who doesn't know, that's an Italian airline written in Italian, and they say, sorry, got to be written in English because you might not get on the flight.
Yeah. So I say, well, we've had the test done in Bari. I said, if I had the test done in Tokyo, the bloody test might be in Japanese. But I said, I don't understand. It's negativo. And other people were yelling at this poor lady. And I wasn't yelling. I said, look, you've got to use your common sense in this situation. It's negative. It's obvious it's negative. Look, she says, can you phone the pharmacy? I said, no, it's not going to happen. I said, it's not going to happen. That was all done by the promoter. I'm not phoning the pharmacy. I said, I'm going to have to go on Twitter and social media and tag Alitalia and the staff and just say how disgraceful this is. This is ridiculous. When I said that, she said, okay, our supervisor said it's okay. So we get and then I get to Heathrow and my passport doesn't go through the electric gate. So I've got to queue up again. Heathrow, they didn't ask for anything. The guy just said to me, sir, have you been double vaccinated? Where you been? Italy. Have you been double vaccinated? Yes. Didn't ask to see anything. And I walked through.
Of course not. Of course they didn't, because we're the other extreme here. We just don't care.
Yeah. I mean, so what I'm trying to say here, that it's not just the tests that we did beforehand and the 2 weeks of aggravation I had trying to do this. It's the amount of paper. You've got to show the same paperwork a million times. And why can't these tests be done on the NHS? Charge a nominal fee, let's say 10 or 15 quid each for these tests on the NHS. The NHS would bring in millions of pounds and at least all the information would be coordinated. When you're doing the PCR out with a different company and something else with someone coming back, you've got to download all these apps and you've got to do it. I mean, it's madness, and putting the same information at different companies. Surely if it was under the same roof, it would be simpler for everybody. I mean, it's madness.
It's racketeering. It's black market racketeering. Why don't we just call it what it is? It's complete profiteering.
And the airport in Palermo blew the lid off the whole thing, because if that's not a recipe for getting this virus, I don't know what is, because none of us in the band had ever seen anything like it. And I sat on the floor for an hour because there was no seat. Even there's pictures of it, and I thought, I can't be bothered. I'm just going to have to sit on the floor. And it's horrendous, just absolutely horrendous. Would I do it again? Yeah. Because I enjoyed the gigs and I wanted to work. But they've got to do something. They've got to either exempt workers from all this. If you've been double vaccinated, this is ridiculous. Or this
is the whole thing. They should make it, if you've been double jabbed, you're exempt. Otherwise, why the hell did we go through this? Why have we bothered vaccinating the world if it doesn't mean anything? It's stupid.
It's stupid, but we're getting ill. I'm not joking. I'm still tired. I got back Monday night, and because it was on me, the responsibility, and I'm trying to, get my band to do all the work, and I'm helping them out with the passenger locator forms and all this. I've not felt very well since I've been back, and it's nothing to do with COVID. It's simply the amount of stress of getting the right paperwork, and then them having the power to stop you flying, and they have got the power to stop you flying. If they really decide to do that, the staff, because they don't know the rules. They don't know their own rules. They don't know our rules.
I don't even think it's that they don't know the rules. I think the rules are being made up as they go along. What should we do today? I mean, when you told me, I can't remember, I was having a cup of coffee or something, you told me, that it says negativo.
Yeah.
I don't speak Italian. I'm not the world's leading genius, but even I know that must mean the word negative. It's
got to be in English. The rules say it's got to be in English.
So the letter O needs to be replaced by the letter E, and then everything is fine. It's just nonsense. The point is, it's nonsense.
It's nonsense, especially when you get to an airport that is no social distancing whatsoever, that take out 3/4 of the seats and expect you to just sit on the floor, and crowding the bars everywhere is packed. that just to me makes a mockery of the whole thing. Of you actually think, why did I bother doing all this testing when no one else is upholding their part of the bargain?
Good question, Ray. Coming in, here you are. You see, this is what drives me mad. This is the whole theme of today's show of the lack of logic, or one rule for one rule for another.
Yeah.
So you're going through all this bullshit, which, let's call it what it is. It's bullshit, and then you're being crowded together like cattle, which completely negativos the whole point of going through all this crap.
Yeah.
And then there's a question from Veronica Curran up in Edinburgh. She says, were you allowed capacity at the gigs?
The gigs were outside, so yes, they were full capacity at the gigs. No masks outside, but they were outdoors, and there was no dancing allowed. And I got in trouble on the last one in Taranto in the south because we did just a gigolo at the end. I went, on your feet. We say, potete alzantevi, get up. And then the security guards went over and went like that.
Oh.
And apparently they were.
What's the shtick when you can't? Why can't you dance? What
Because of the distancing thing. But there was no. The gigs were full capacity. Yeah, there was but they were outside, completely outside.
But so saying, what the point? I'm trying to link the two things here. You go to Palermo Airport.
Yeah,
and it's utter chaos, and you're shoved together like sardines in a tin, right? Which obviates the entire point of going through being careful. Then you've got a gig, and are they telling the people at the gig? I know you're saying it's outside where there's seats, or where you standing, or I'm trying to get a visual image of this.
Seated, like basically theatre style.
Oh, okay.
So you've got people seated in the front of you, and then round the sides there's people standing as well. So.
But are they standing next to each other?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was normal. It was completely normal. It was like it was.
So if they're allowing that,
yeah.
So if they're allowing that, they're not like. In other words, there's not a seat space. There's just seats, right?
Yeah.
Seats?
Yeah. There wasn't seat space. There was when this first started, when a few people toured a bit last year until the second wave. But this time, no. It was to me, it looked completely normal, absolutely normal at the gigs. And I'm glad it was,
No, I get, of course. It's, you see, there's so many aspects to this. We're trying to get the economy. We've spoken about this, and Phil was the first person to point this out. I think in March certainly by April 2020. Phil was the first person. Everyone's trying to get back on their feet. You especially. The entertainment industry has been virtually thrown under a bus. They may have saved the NHS, which I would question, but they haven't saved the entertainment industry at all. And this just adds to the misery of it all.
Yeah, it does. And some people could say to me, well, it was your choice to go out there. But I don't look at it that way. I look at it, well, it wasn't, because we have to earn money. Otherwise we shrivel up and die. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically we have to earn money, and this country doesn't supply enough work. It never did for any of us, really. So we have to, any international or what we call successful roots artist is traveling abroad, because England doesn't support the arts. There's bits and pieces here. We love working here, but there's not enough to live on. And, but it is somebody's choice to go on holiday. Now, I'm not here to condemn people going on holiday at all, but that is their personal choice. They don't have to go. Yeah. We have to go. That is our work. That's our livelihood. So, as Phil said earlier, why can't there be some concessions for workers? If you can show the contract and you've been double vaccinated.
Well, to be honest with you, Ray, what I was saying is it was less absolutely concession for workers to some degree, but actually concession full stop. It should be that anyone who is double jabbed, regardless if they're going for work, regardless if they're going for pleasure, because otherwise, why have we gone through all of this time, this effort and money? Why have we done it if it doesn't make any difference?
Yeah, and when the airports aren't upholding their part of the bargain by packing people into burning hot buses with half the seats out, so there's no social. And it's very simple: put more buses on, but they don't want to spend the money. Or they can't spend the money. Maybe the economy, I understand they're in. So, as we've said several times, it makes a mockery of the whole thing when you're in an environment which you're very likely to get the virus.
Do you feel worried? Do you feel worried that you might get ill?
I didn't feel worried, but a little bit, because I've heard lately a few people I know, friends and colleagues, have got this virus again quite severely. So, Yeah, I'm more worried than I was, I guess. But I'm waiting for the results of my day 2 test, and then we'll see.
So when do you get those?
They're supposed to be through any day. They email the results. You do the test the day after you get back and send it off.
Oh, wouldn't it make a great moment if you got, I've just had a great, you know what, when Ramsey came out earlier on with a suggestion for Chantel of a new TV program, I just thought of one right here and now. We should do it where you speak to people who are in isolation because they've just returned from holiday, and we get them to announce their day 2 results live on air.
Does it have a name, this show?
Day 2.
Day 2. Veronica Curran from Edinburgh says this: they are then putting working travellers who pay out for testing to become ill due to the lack of organisation. I agree with that. You follow the rules. So glad it was outside. Ray, get vitamin C, vitamin D, high strength of magnesium via the skin, oil, rub it. Helps a lot with fatigue. And Sue Cressman is saying this: I'm double jabbed, but got COVID. Oh my God, on the train back from Edinburgh. It's awful. So first of all, Sue Cressman, we wish you well. Are you sure that's what? I'm really fascinated by this because I'm really very nervous at the moment. I'll be quite honest with you. I'm double jabbed, but I got COVID on the train back from Edinburgh. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I look at it this way with the traveling. If I had to do it all over again with all the hassle, I would, because just seeing the guys again in a proper situation and hanging out after the gig and the wonderful hospitality the promoters and the audience showed us was worth all the hassle. I just hope the hassle is dropped eventually and I can concentrate on the job,
You know what bothers me, though, is didn't we all hope that the hassle would stop after 9/11? When they put in the extra security measures and they suggest about having to take belts off, shoes off, go through scanners, have everything. And you know what? That's never stopped. I hate to say it, but
it hasn't stopped. It's gotten worse. That's another program, because I think a lot of that liquids and all this, I mean, this is nonsense now.
It's bunkum. Absolutely
technology
bunkum.
in 20 years. Are you telling me it hasn't, not you, but it's one telling me it hasn't developed, so you don't have to do all this crap, taking the belt off your watch, you think. And you know what? I've left stuff behind many times because I've got my saxophone, my
bag.
My
damn watch. I left my favorite watch. I looked down on my wrist. Oh my God. And I went running back, and thank God it was there. I don't ever wear jewelry, but I really do like my watches, and I was traveling and it was a nice watch, and I thought, oh my God.
If I could avoid flying
my belt
again,
behind,
I wouldn't. Sorry, I said if I could avoid flying again, if I didn't have to do it for my work, I don't think I'd ever get on an aeroplane or an airport again. I find them horrendous places, and now with this, they've even got worse. Now
this is interesting from Sue Cressman. Listen to this, because she said she got the COVID on the train coming back to Nailcoat Hall from Edinburgh. I know it was then because someone was taken ill on the train and we had to walk through the carriage where the person was poorly. I knew immediately. That was when I caught it. I tested negative until that day. Jesus. Jeez. Yeah, I as desperate as I am to go away, I couldn't face the airport thing. I just couldn't face it.
My advice is anyone that doesn't have to, don't bother, because to me, it's just not, unless you have to do it. I think it's too much hassle until they drop this nonsense, because it's so much work, and your mind is on that rather than actually take it. I mean, a holiday is to take a break. To me, that's not taking a break, having to run around to all these various ports.
I'd rather not go. I'd rather, spend the money on maybe a few nice outdoor restaurants here in town, and try and relax.
The other thing as well that we should consider is that let's not forget that to make up for the fact that so many people have got a very similar attitude and they want to stay in this country, that all the prices in the UK have gone sky high. It's just an absolute joke.
Yeah,
well,
it is pretty mad. But I just, if they do keep these tests, I just hope they can bring them in. I think they should be under one roof. And as I said, why can't they be done? I mean, via the NHS.
Because it requires common sense and logic. That's why.
No, it requires resource. It requires resource that the NHS just doesn't have. Think about how many things are potentially on the brink of being privatized by the NHS because they don't have the resource. So why on earth are they going to introduce a whole new system in place that they just don't have the time to deal with?
See, what scares me is this. They brought in taxation. I'm talking about Robin Hood and Maid Marian and all that. They brought in taxation officially to fight the Napoleonic War. It was a temporary measure. How did that work out? I think the Napoleonic War was finished. I could be wrong. I finished last Friday. Yeah. Could be completely wrong.
Russ, you've hit it on the head. Now they know they can make a buck out of it. These companies, I can't see it going. I mean, like you've said about 9/11, Phil, and I've asked that question many times, that everything seemed to get worse after that. They used it to make a profit. Oh, you can't have this bag, you can't have that bag. Now you can only take this and this and this. It was never like that before. You could take a couple of bags in the hold. The hold is supposed to be for the bags. Big bags are not supposed to be up the top, and everyone brings them on because they don't want to pay the money to put them in the hold. So none of this will change. This is what worries me. I'm scared that these tests will be here.
This is the point. When it was Layla Khaled and all these other people hijacking planes, etc., they suddenly decided they were going to bring in security. That security is never gone. So traveling at an airport is a pain in the ass at the first degree, right? I am not convinced they will say, you know what, let's just try and get back to that. Because I found that, I'll be absolutely frank with you, I dreaded it. I found it very stressful. Why? I don't know. I had to kind of go into a Zen-like trance and just think, I've got to get through this.
Oh, can I tell you why I think you found it stressful? Because I'm fairly sure it's the reason why I find it stressful. Is because you're treated like a criminal when you've done nothing wrong. It's unnerving. It's really unnerving.
That's really true. So here's the thing, Ray. I'm going to read this and I want to ask you a question. Sue Cressman says, we went to a beautiful wedding in Edinburgh, which was two very good friends. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. We have suffered for the traveling back. Now, I've been told by several people that I know about people who've attended weddings, they're all incredibly ill now. And the husbands in some cases are saying, well, I don't think we should go. And the wives are saying, oh, it's a best friend and it's going to support them and blah, 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 blah. And they're going and they're ill. In one case, it looks like the bride's father may not even, I was told, is so ill, I'm not even sure he's going to make it. All this sort of thing. How do you feel about stuff like that, Ray? How has it changed your life?
Pretty worried, really. I mean, every time you think this has gone away, it kind of seems to bang back again. And as I mentioned earlier, I know a couple of friends who have gotten quite sick with this, despite the fact they've been double vaccinated, and that's pretty scary. I'm also of the mindset, though, that I haven't got any answers. I think we've got to carry on, but be as careful as we can. I mean, I'm playing a wedding tomorrow, somebody's wedding. It's a private thing in Chichester, and although if my test comes back and it says I'm positivo.
Positivo, not negativo.
Positive, and that's the scary thing, that if that does happen, the whole thing is ruined.
But here's the thing: I'm supposed to be seeing you at a really silly level, but this is where we're at. I'm supposed to be seeing you tomorrow. We meet every Saturday, right? Me and Colin. Right? I'm supposed to be seeing you, and now I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. He's done all this traveling. He's been in the airport with all these Herberts. We don't know what's it. Should I go and meet him? Now, I look forward to it. I'll be honest with you, it's one of the highlights of my week. That's how we relax. We enjoy it. And now I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure this is a great idea.
Well, let me take a test seriously. I was going to take a test. I've got home tests here. I'll take one, and then I should be getting the results of my day 2 back. So, that's all you can really do.
We'll talk about. But I wasn't trying to.
No, I know.
Put myself into this. This is just a tiny little micro example of the way we are. Richard Vero, who lives in. I was at school with Richard. He lives in Colditz in Germany. Joking aside, he lives in the village of Colditz. He says, I'm double jabbed and had COVID, as you know. Unbelievable, isn't it? I was coming to the UK in September for some work and to go to the Monster. You remember the Monster Raving Loony Party?
Yeah.
Remember that? Lord Suchley's part of that. But it's going to be too expensive, absolutely, as Ray has said, and too risky and too stressful, so I'm not coming. And then Veronica Curran says, the cruise ships, I think, will see an increase for the organisation they have in place. If I cannot get my putt-putt car there, I'm not going. I think a lot of people feel like that. But you have no choice. That's the difference. It's not a holiday for you. It's work. You've got to do it.
And everything at the moment is precarious because, for example, I've got something in Spain for the band in November, which hopefully will be a run of maybe 4 or 5, maybe a couple more. And we'll probably have to go through this again. But the other worry is whether it's cancelled, because nothing is straight. So I can't go ahead and book flights. I used to book flights and get the money off the promoter or whatever. I refuse to do that now with any of the foreign promoters. I says you have to book them, and the risk has to be on you because it could be completely cancelled. Because when this first happened, I was left with thousands and thousands worth of debt with all the flights I booked, and all I had was a bunch of poxy vouchers, which I still haven't used. I haven't been able to use them. Because you can't, not every flight's BA. You see what I mean? So
yes.
I'm not doing that anymore. I can't afford to do that.
And
Not every flight's BA, but plenty of flights are BS.
Do you want to buy some vouchers? I got 7 cheap.
This is one of the reasons. I know, but this is one of the reasons, right, that I wanted you to come back on the show, is because to just give people an insight into just what it's like in one specific industry. I mean, Sue Cressman, she's talking, her industry is hospitality at Nailcoat Hall, and she's something like 75 plus weddings behind. Look at that at the bottom line, 75 weddings. Gee, gone. They're coming back eventually, but it's really been crippling for them. You're a musician, and it's like, what the hell's happened to all of that entertainment side? It's really difficult. And to try and give people an insight into the expense, the utter palaver, and the sheer hypocrisy of it. Yeah. The sheer hypocrisy of making you jump through 27,000 hoops and then packing you like a tin of pilchards. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
It is nuts. But again, we have to just go through this and hope they'll stop it, because as traveling with a band anyway has become more and more stressful for some of the reasons Phil said. Obviously, since 9/11, it's become 10 times more stressful with all this and more expensive, because even if you bring a bit of equipment, I'm talking if you bring, say, a merchandise case with CDs and albums, which we used to do, can't do that now because they'll charge you for it. So everything is cutting into our profit, everything that the airport does, even to change a seat. I've always got the bad luck when I go to check in and they've given me the seat at the back, right near the toilets. And when I try to change it, when I try to change it now, they
spend more than a penny when you try and change it.
Yeah, they'll charge you much. So they're charging for everything, £10 to change a seat. So again, what I'm saying is to try to take a touring band out now, it's so much more expensive, and the fees haven't gone up. The fees have not gone up in years and years, and so our profit margin gets less and less, and it's hard.
I have to tell you, I got an email the other day from an airline that I'm supposed to be flying with next month, and I'm not sure I'm going to yet because I don't think the country that I'm supposed to be going to is going to allow passengers from the UK, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's besides the point. This particular airline has changed their policy, in inverted commas, to ensure that the flow of passengers is swifter, is quicker. Right. And the change of policy states that hand luggage that you take onto an aircraft now is not your sort of little case that you used to take with anymore. No, that's gone. It's ultimately a briefcase. That's pretty much the size of it. So you can only take hand luggage that is no bigger than the size of a briefcase. Well, thanks to that. That's really helpful. But what they've done is they have created a system, this airline, the way you have to, if you are going to take a case that is that size, so your standard hand luggage, your old standard hand luggage case on board, is that they've implemented this system where you can check the bag in. So you check it in and it goes into the hole at the bottom. And you think to yourself, well, hang on a second. What's the point of it? What the hell's the point of that hand luggage if it's just going to be checked in anyway? Because obviously, you've got things you want to carry on you. But it gets better. If you do have a case that is that standard hand luggage size and you bring it by mistake, you will be charged if you want to put it into the hold. So you can take it, you can still take it with, it would go into the underneath, it would still go into the bottom of the plane, but you then have to pay for the privilege of that to be the case. So they're the ones who are banning.
I'm not following.
Okay.
I'm
So
very
think about-
confused.
Okay, so think of a standard piece of hand luggage, okay? A wheelie case, that's standard hand luggage, right?
Yeah, got it.
That is now no longer allowed as cabin baggage on the plane, okay?
On
You can't have
this particular airline.
this particular airline, you can no longer have that as cabin baggage. What they do is they say you can put it in the hold because they don't want you to have
luggage. But then it's just luggage.
it's just luggage, but they charge you extra. So they are the ones who
They
don't
still
want
charge
you.
to put it in the hold. They have
Exactly.
To
So
Right,
they're
I've
the
got-
ones who don't want the cabin baggage on board,
Yeah.
but they would charge you extra to put it in the hold. And I got this email the other day saying because I had booked this flight before that change was implemented, as a kind gesture, they are going to offer me that additional service for free. So I can actually take hand luggage with, but put it in the hold, and I don't have to pay for the privilege of it. Isn't that nice?
You know what it is? This is from 9/11, because back in the day, and I've done the touring for over 30 years, and back in the day, you could check any reasonable baggage in the hold, and they would never charge you, never, unless it's massively excess. But anything reasonable you'd put in the hold. That started after 9/11, that charge. And that's why I've spoke to many airline staff, and that's why you've got so many delayed flights, because it's a bun fight, because people don't want to spend the money to put their bag in the hold because it's not free anymore. They're all taking the hand luggage up. It's a bun fight when you get on the flight, and it takes twice, if not 3 times longer to board and get off a bloody flight now because everyone's got their bags up there.
So that is their excuse. This is a particular airline. This is why they said they're doing it to try and speed up the process of passenger
Well,
flight.
if they're trying to really speed the process up, don't charge to put the bags in the hold. Because
Couldn't agree more.
That's what the hold's for.
No, absolutely. And you know what makes it worse? This is what really sort of sticks in my craw, is that it doesn't make a difference. If it's in the hold, it's still weighing the blooming plane down. It doesn't
It's exactly
make
the same
any
thing. It's an absolute
difference.
it's an
It's just
absolute
either
nonsense.
one part of the plane or the other.
It's
Well,
a
while we're
nonsense.
on that subject, you know what they do, just quickly, because it's important to talk about it. My tenor saxophone it's not so big. It usually goes up fits up perfectly. So I put the tenor saxophone in, it's in a special case, and somebody can even put a roller bag, a wheelie bag in front of it. No, Ryanair and certain airlines like other airlines, Vueling and people, they don't accept it. So you know what you've got to do? You can't put it in the hole because it will get smashed up.
Yes.
In the case. So what they do is they charge you for an extra seat. So I'm taking a 7-piece band, and we've got to pay 3 extra seats, which is the same price. So you're sitting there humiliated with a saxophone next to you, right? Which has to have a belt around it. Seriously?
Oh, shut up.
I swear. Listen, it's got a belt around it. It's in the seat, and it's got to be in the right seat, because if I think it's got to be by the window, because if it's in the middle seat, someone can't get past it. I've actually ordered a meal for my saxophone just to take the piss out of them back. and they've refused. And I said, no, I paid the seat. I want the meal for the saxophone, and they've had to bring it because I've paid for the seat. And
That is just, I
You
can
do
see
know-
that Chantal is completely cracked up. at that.
I would suggest,
no,
though,
I've done it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
On a tour with Claire Martin. I said I want a meal for the saxophone, so we shared the extra meal.
Ray, I would suggest, though, that some people pay extra for a mile-high sax. Hey, there we go. And on that note, Chantal, hello. You're muted. Chantal, you've muted yourself. We can't hear you. There we go.
There we are.
I've been sitting here chortling away, listening to the stories about flying.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? It's just
It's
extraordinary.
But it did remind me, I hadn't had the results back from my day 2 test last week. So I was rapidly going online to find out what my day 2 test results were, which I still haven't got 10 days later.
Oh
Wow.
my God! But
They
why?
should arrive in a few days, shouldn't they? That's what they tell you.
They should, but they haven't.
Well, no, mine haven't. I've been back since Monday, so we'll see.
This is completely bonkers. This is bonkers. Ray, you're very welcome to stay. I know you're a
As I say,
busy
Ray, if you want to
chap.
stick around and chat telly, you're welcome to do so. If you need to dart off and go and get your PCR test, it's up to you.
I'll buzz off and listen, but it's been lovely to be on the show and have a little rant about this. My
Ray's
experience.
rant. Ray's rant. It's
Take
great.
care, guys.
Thank you
Have a
so
lovely
much.
weekend,
Ray.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.
gracious.
Hilarious, isn't it? Hilarious, isn't it? Gosh, wow.
How are
do
you
know?
all?
Well, kind of angry. Kind of angry and disappointed. And it's been. I think, to be honest, it's been a horrible week. Which we're so glad to have you along for light relief. It's been a nasty week where we've looked around at the world. We've lost some great people.
Yeah.
Lost some great people. If you're not a fan, I was thinking. And Phil
I did that once. It's weird.
Yeah, it didn't work out for you. And we were chatting earlier in the week, Phil and I. And if it's somebody you admire, and you're in the entertainment industry at the top end, and you lose them, if it means something to you, it means a lot. If you're not a fan, like I'm going to put it out there. I know people adored George Michael, loved George Michael. I was sad he passed because he was young, but I wasn't. I loved him in Wham. They were catchy little pop songs. They were great. The rest of the stuff I found pretty dirge-like, and I was very sad he'd gone, but it wasn't something that, Michael Jackson liked his music, but I wasn't like distraught. Other people were absolutely distraught. But
It was the same with Prince. Did you know when Prince? I don't mean to be rude, but people seem to fall apart when Prince.
Well,
died.
I'm a huge Prince fan. I'm a huge Bowie fan. I think they were geniuses. But if it's the same thing. If you don't, if it's not your cup of tea, you feel sorry that somebody's died young. But it's just human nature, isn't it? But I got very upset about Charlie Watts because he's always been there as long as since I was 9, if not that. And then you look what's going on in Afghanistan. You think it's been a rough week, and it's kind of for your mental health. You think, how do I overcome this? Because the messages that you're getting, you know what I mean? It's a constant barrage. No pun intended. Or you're being assaulted by all of this stuff, and it's hard to keep which is why TV and movies are a great fillip.
Chantal, is it possible? I know this is live producing at its finest, but can you tilt your camera down slightly because you're looking a little bit Barney Rubble at the moment. We've lost your neck. There we go. Look
there
at that.
We are.
Is that better?
That is so much better
because you can see.
Now we can see the shirt. The collar's up in a rather casual.
Oh, we like the shirt. Bravo.
Yeah, the shirt's great.
Thank you very much.
Great. I'm going to start off with a little show that I discovered by chance. I'm not stepping on your toes. I was on Amazon, and there was a movie. It was one of those things. It was set in Australia with Rebecca Gibney, is her name. Is a huge Australian female star, and she plays a detective. It's called Eve Winter, and it was a one-off movie.
Right.
And it was set in a small town mystery. Excuse me. And then, quite by chance, I saw underneath that it was also a TV series, and I binge watched.
Wow.
And it's simply called Winter.
Okay.
Set in Australia. She's jolly good. And it's an interesting story. I think there's 2 seasons. I can only find one at the moment, but it's just simply called Winter.
I see what you did there. 2 seasons. Very good.
Please don't encourage me.
Well, I'm going to look it up. I don't know it. I think I know the actress, but I don't know the film or the series. So thank you.
It's not like Please don't think it's like Unforgotten or Line of Duty. It's not up there, but it's if you like things like Broken Wood Mysteries or that sort of stuff, and it's nice to see other scenery. Australian scenery is, of course,
you're quite right.
Stunning.
Couldn't agree more.
Much better. That's so much better. Look. Beautiful view of a microphone.
You said you wanted to do other scenery.
Yeah, no, we got it. God, he's like, he beats it to death with a crowbar, doesn't he? That's the gag. We get the gag. We're all smart, and he just kills it. What have you found?
Oh, well, you're right. It has been a rough week, and telly-wise, this is not the greatest time of the year for films and telly. But and you're right, not everything.
Chantal's way. She hasn't been bothered. She hasn't found anything. Forget it. Thanks, Chantal.
She's just here to show us her shirt. It's jolly nice, and all the women are going, "I bet that's a nice shirt. Where's she going?" That's what the women are thinking. All the guys are going, hello. And all the women are going, I wonder what it is. What do you think?
That's what the holiday to Dubai was about.
They'll be doing that. That's what the women are doing.
Anyway, sorry, right. So yes, we apologise. Rubbish week for telly.
No, not entirely rubbish week, because actually we were talking about changing rooms last week, which I was less than convinced that should have been brought back after 20 years without any changes at all, and certainly no changes that were really for the better.
And having watched it, I can confirm it really shouldn't have been brought back.
I
But
know.
anyway.
Why
it's
is that, guys? What was it about? I didn't see it. What? Tell me, because it's interesting to everybody else. What was it about it? It's come back. What did you not like about it?
Well, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen is a one-trick pony, I think.
Completely, yeah.
Which is a bit of a pity because he's doing exactly what he did 25 years ago. And neither his character or his on-screen persona or his shtick has moved on. And somehow the world has moved on and Lawrence hasn't. So it no longer feels fresh. The silly shirts.
That's why she gets the big bucks.
Talking about silly shirts, his silly shirts don't really cut it any longer. And I just didn't feel it was very well produced.
The sleeves, they go on forever.
Yeah. And it probably didn't have enough money spent on it. So there were a few things that were wrong with it, to be honest.
It was clearly a very low budget production. I don't mean to be rude, but you can just, there are certain things that stood out a mile that made it very low budget. And I have to say as well that with the greatest amount of respect to Anna Richardson, who is the sort of the new host, as it were.
Yeah.
She's kind of the go-between. From my understanding is it looks like Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen will be one of the designers, and then they have a different designer each week, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Yeah, Anna Richardson will be the sort of the Carol Smiley type figure who goes between the two houses to see what's going on, and she'll be the one to say, "Oh, you've chosen that color paint," and then it goes in the wall. "Oh, it's lovely when it's on the wall." No, it's even more hideous than when it was in the paint pot. Don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely revolting. How on earth is suddenly getting it out of a tin of which it like whale vomit and shoving it on the wall look any better? It does not look better. Anyway, so you've got that in itself as irritating as heck, as you can tell. And then to top it all off, the decor, when they actually finally get around from what I've seen of it, and I tried so hard to give it another chance because I really loved Changing Rooms back in the day. I thought it was a great program, but I'm afraid they just look like they're doing the same wacky ideas that they had then, and it just Did you see in episode 1, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen had plastered a massive photo of himself on the back of the person's door?
Know. And actually, that's sort of, I know.
Holy God.
Arrogance doesn't really cut it for me, to be honest.
Great.
It's so interesting. It's the thing about human nature and well-being, isn't it? To digress just for a sec, but it's kind of what's core to what we do, is that you do have to move with the times and adapt and evolve.
Yeah.
So somebody like, for example, Nick Knowles, who started off as the hunky, handsome guy, and he looks far more, I can talk, but he looks more grizzled now, and he's not arrogant. He's just, you can see the way he presents. He's matured. Life's dealt him some knocks, etc., and it shows. But he's much more interesting.
Yeah. I think you're right, and in fact, that is the first program I was going to talk about. Actually, is Nick Knowles' new program, which is on Channel 5.
I didn't even. Wow, that's freaky because I actually didn't know that. Whoa,
yeah, started last week.
Spooky.
Started last week, so catch up. And actually, it's not bad. It's a hybrid of a lot of different makeover programs. So the idea is that he goes to the home of a family that has nearly outgrown their home, but mainly because the house is full of clutter. There's probably a little bit of a hoarding thing going on, that the house just simply isn't working for them anymore. So what they do, rather like Life Laundry on BBC 2 20 years ago, they take every single thing out of the house. They take it to a warehouse and they put it all in a warehouse. And then they get the family to come in, and who are always constantly amazed by the idea that they can see all of their items laid out in front of them. And everybody is surprised at the numbers of T-shirts and amounts of pairs of socks. And the episode I watched this morning, a family of 4 had 729 individual socks.
I'm sorry. What? Sorry, say that again. Sorry.
A family of 4 had 729 individual socks that they had got in their home, just stuffed in drawers and cupboards, but they hadn't had a clear out in 20 years.
Or are they getting cold feet or something? What the hell?
What the heck was that about? Wow.
So Nick goes into the house, takes all the clutter out. They then have to declutter. So they send things to charity shops. So there's a lot of good messages about recycling and clearing up your life. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
no, honestly, it's good stuff. And then a decent makeover is done at the other end. So by the time the family come back in, Nick and his crew have been around the house. They've made changes. They've done a good makeover, not a sort of crazy, wacky, let's paint everything pink makeover,
Pink,
but
yeah.
actually made the home better. And actually, genuinely, it's a nice program. It's got great feel good. Nick is absolutely dependable in that role. He's always nice. He's full of empathy. Everybody comes out with a smile on their face at the end of it. And it's just a nice show to watch. So if you're looking for some nice moving wallpaper, television wallpaper, this is it. It's
Let me ask
exactly
you a
Just
question.
reminded me. I was just going to say, but as far as changing room is concerned, that's you've hit the nail on the head. That where they've gone wrong is how many of these property shows now tell us that the way to add value to the property is to not make it overly personal and to actually sort of make it more, how can I put it, more neutral, as it were, neutral with style,
Yeah.
with flair.
Yeah.
That's obviously where they've gone wrong, is that they're still trying to do these ridiculous sort of color schemes and what have you from years ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
just a thought.
Can I ask you a question, Chantal, which
Sure.
is always fascinating me? If, with these shows, you would know because you've produced so much television. If these shows, they come back in and they loathe what's been done.
Yeah.
What is the legal position? Is that it? They're stuck with it, or they've got the film crew go to the poor punters then have to go to B&Q and repaint. Or how does it work?
Well, I think contractually they have to take what they've been given.
Right.
Clearly, if there's something terribly untoward going on and they are really furious and the place is a total dog's dinner, then as a producer, what I would have done is try to come to some sort of compromise and rushed in with a tin of Magnolia and repainted all the orange wall.
Yes.
Repainted
But you're
the
not
thing.
obliged. But you're not obliged. I mean, basically, they're handing over. It always fascinates me because you know, sometimes you see these things, which is great for the viewer when the people are incandescent with rage. They come into their living room and it looks, as you said politely, like a dog's dinner, and then they go, well, there you go, you like it. End of show, and the credits roll, and you think, well, they're stuck with this. What
But
the
that's
hell?
part of the jeopardy. So actually, if you told people at the beginning, it's all right if you don't like it, we'll change it into another color,
Yeah.
their reaction wouldn't be as good because they'd know that they could get a repaint out of it. So contractually, they are obliged to take what they're given. But anyway, interesting stuff. And if you've got, an hour to waste over the weekend, then watch Nick's new show, which is called Nick Knowles' Big House Clear Out. And they do also do that thing at the end of telling you how much the house was worth at the beginning and how much it is worth
Oh, I like
once
that.
it's been repainted and it's freshened up and things are in the right place. And inevitably, things have a much greater value if the house is clean and tidy and everything's got a place. So it's worth watching. It's a nice, gentle show and an easy watch.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
So I was going to
Kimmy
mention.
Lashmar's agreeing with you. She said she saw it last night. There we go.
Yeah.
And she also says, I love Nick Knowles. Like to see all my toot laid out.
Hoping that's
Yeah,
not a
it is.
euphemism. Anyway,
Indeed, pretty shocking. I was going to mention briefly the show that everybody is talking about, not necessarily because it's the best show on telly, but just because everybody needs to know what everybody's talking about. Well, you don't need to know, but just in case you're interested. There is a new show that's just come out on Netflix called 9 Perfect Strangers with Nicole Kidman as the executive producer, also Melissa McCarthy, the comedy actress, as one of the other executive producers. It's written by David Kelly, who has the best TV heritage. He wrote Ally McBeal, he wrote Goliath, he wrote Big Little Lies, he wrote Boston Legal. I mean, he's
wasn't he that bloke from Going for Gold?
I don't think so.
He's also married to Michelle, unless I'm going mad, married to Michelle Pfeiffer, is he?
Actually, I think he either is or was married to Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't think he's married to her any longer, but I could be wrong about that.
I could be in with a chance then.
I've got a feeling Michelle Pfeiffer is married to a guy who's in a rock band, but I could be wrong. Anyway.
It's just one brutal disappointment after another.
So it was filmed in Australia last year. It's about 9 strangers who all come together because they are going to what they think is a spa. A spa in America really is a euphemism for anything from a detox center to a rehab unit to I had a girlfriend who went to one of these places. A friend had booked her in, thinking she had an issue that needed resolving, and she thought she was going to a spa. And she phoned them beforehand and said, "What should I bring and what shouldn't I bring?" And they said, "Well, don't bring hairspray and don't bring spray on deodorant." And she said, "Why forever not?" And they said, "Because some of the other patients may want to sniff it." She suddenly realized she wasn't going to a spa place at all. She was actually going to a rehab unit. So these places can be called anything. Anyway, that is not the reason for telling you the story, but Masha is the woman who runs the spa. That is Nicole Kidman. Apparently during filming, she stayed in character through the whole 3-month filming period, which is a bit random. It's got a great cast, but clearly these 9 strangers have all got backstories. They've all got secrets, and the secrets begin to unfold. Now, it hasn't been terribly well reviewed by the critics. If you're a Nicole Kidman fan or a Melissa McCarthy fan, then watch it because you'll get something out of it. But it was being heralded as the big new series, but I think it hasn't quite found its way in the world.
I was the #1 Nicole Kidman fan in the world, but now, and I'm not being rude, I'm being serious, although you can see where I bet you know where I'm going with this. She can't move her face. I mean, she just can't move her face. First of all, she doesn't look like she used to look. Fair enough. I get it. It's Hollywood. I get all of that. But the thing about an actress is you want the face to be animated, and she just can't move her face. And
you see when you bring her a birthday cake, she can't blow out the candles.
And I got to be honest, I can't bear Melissa McCarthy. Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you know what? Luckily, though, RK, your reaction before didn't give that away.
No, I really can't. No. I'm not a fan. I don't like her work. I don't like her work at all. I don't enjoy it.
Give it a miss, then, Russ. It's probably more of a girls program than a guys program. But anyway, I wouldn't.
She says on men's radio.
Yeah, exactly.
With 50% of our audience women, so it's okay.
Indeed.
So is it a series? It's not a film. It's a series.
No,
right?
It's a series. It's what they call a limited series, which means it will close out at the end of its 8 episodes. That they're not expecting a second series. So, but
interesting. What they mean. You know what? I'm really pleased you explained that, because I always thought limited series just meant it wouldn't be around for very long. It wouldn't be on Netflix for very long.
No, it'll mean it'll close out.
Oh, I'm really pleased you clarified that. I genuinely had no idea. I was wondering what they meant with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's why she's top producer. That's why we are just punters.
Just say, someone has turned the air conditioning on in the room that I'm in. I've got no control over it. I'm looking around for the air conditioning. It's freezing in here. It's like a refrigerator now. But anyway, never mind. Don't worry about me.
Thank God you've got your usual jacket, shirt, vest.
No, I may. Not, I promise you, I might as well not have it. Honestly, you could keep fishing.
Think of it this way, Phil. You're going to be Phil. You're going to be cryogenically preserved and never look any older than 34. So you're fine.
Yeah, either that or my teeth will start chattering. Anyway, right? Sorry.
Quick film, very quick film. You will hate it.
Yeah.
Phil won't watch it. You won't like it.
This doesn't sound like a good recommendation.
Loved it. No. Just I kind of know you. It's called Boss Level, with one of my favorite actors who's been in so many things. And if you know him, you know, and if you don't, it'll mean nothing. Called Frank Grillo.
Can I tell you, actually, for the record, I actually thought Boss Level was brilliant. Thank you very much.
Right, and
you liked it.
So
I haven't got. I've never heard it before. What is it?
Oh, for God's sake! If you like Smoking Aces and Shoot 'em Up, if you like those,
Smoking Cigars.
Okay.
If you like, I loved those films.
Not bad.
You will love this. The story's ridiculous. It's done with such style and such panache. So if you like the style of Deadpool, which is a lot of action but really sarcastic humor, you will love this. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not for you. But I thought it was just fantastic.
Well,
absolutely most entertaining couple of hours of the week for me.
You've watched a lot of television this week, RK.
Oh, clearly been watching loads. But that's a perfect segue into the movie I went to see on Tuesday, which is called Free Guy, which is the new Ryan Reynolds movie. Ryan Reynolds, who of course is also in Deadpool, one of his absolutely best roles. He's a very versatile actor. A lot of people just think he's very light and frothy, and in fact in this film he is light and frothy, but he's got a much broader range than that. But in this film, Free Guy, which just come out, it should have come out last year, they held it
because
back.
the trailers have been out. I've been seeing those trailers for about a year, I think.
Yeah.
Well, certainly a long time.
It's really worth seeing. It's a comedy. It's got a little bit of a romance story. It's got a bit of a thriller thrown into it. The premise is crazy, and very briefly I will explain the premise. If you play online games, you can be character 1, or you can be character 2, you can be the guy with the rifle, you can be the girl running along the street. But in the background, there will be lots of other players who are known as non-playable characters. So they're like the cast that you would see in a television series of people just walking by on the street. So Ryan Reynolds, without understanding what he is or who he is at the beginning of the movie, is one of these characters in a video game. And he's supposed to go to work every day. The same thing will happen. There'll be a big shootout in the bank. He's one of the bank tellers. They call him Blue Shirt Guy because he doesn't have a name. He's not supposed to have any other part in the world other than play this odd character in
an extra. Like an extra.
He's like an extra inside a video game. On the outside world, in the real world, there are two people who are young Americans who have written code for this particular game. There is a guy who's running the game's company who has stolen their intellectual property. And so there's an outside story and there's an inside story. And the way that they blend the two is incredibly clever. It's very funny. The comedy is really, really good. It's clearly, like everything, got a bigger message these days about always being your own person, always making sure that you self-determine, that you make your own decisions, because Free Guy eventually wants to break free. And that's very much part of the story about people finding themselves. But you don't have to go to that level at all. It's just there. It sits there as part of the whole thing. But the middle bit of the story is fun and silly and joyful. And I just giggled all the way through. The jokes are great. So if you are up for going to the movies, go and see Free Guy.
Do you ever think these subliminal messages that are put into films now almost ruin it? Because if you just know that there is going to be some sort of subliminal ulterior motive to a film, I don't know about you, but I'm always suspicious now rather than actually enjoying films. If I just think there's some sort of
how they ruined Star Wars, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Star Wars. They
Absolutely.
just trashed it. Just trashed it.
Yeah, it's a good point, Phil. It doesn't bother me because I sort of expect it these days. And I quite like things that are multi-layered because you can enjoy that film on a completely, random basic level and not actually think, oh, there was a really great message behind that. And that's completely fine. But other people will get something out of the idea that one should self-determine and one should have confidence and one should break free from one's boundaries and so I don't know, it doesn't bother me. But the main thing I didn't mention is the heroine in this film is Jodie Comer, who was in Killing Eve. She was the murderess in Killing Eve on the BBC.
I thought her name sounded familiar.
Yeah. She has now become a major Hollywood movie star. This is her absolute breakout role in Hollywood. This is her first Hollywood film, right up against Ryan Reynolds, who was one of the biggest stars in the world. That girl's career is literally going to skyrocket from this point on. She's come on quite a long way since she was in Dr. Foster. Indeed. Yeah, she was in Dr. Foster. And in this, she plays a character who's inside the video game, as well as one of the coders who is in the real world on the outside of the video game. So rather like Killing Eve, she plays two characters. She's very, very good at swapping characters and playing different people. She's got a major, major career ahead of her, that girl. Well, one would assume that was some sort of deliberate move by the filmmaker because of seeing what she could do in Killing Eve. They probably thought, okay, well, we know who to get. I would say that's why they picked her, because she's incredibly versatile. And good luck to her. She's incredibly nice. I interviewed her in Hollywood a few years ago, and I really liked her. She's a very, very nice young woman. Liverpudlian girl.
Speaking of women who can't act, there was a film I sat through, which I thought it was going to be. I just wanted to switch off. I've just been one of those weeks, and I think it was called Shadow. I watched it this week. It was on Amazon or Netflix or one. I can't remember. And it was it's like Shadow in the Clouds. It's a World War II movie, and you'll know the Morentz. Her first surname is Morentz. So she's a sort of blonde actress, got a double-barreled name.
Oh, Chrissy Moretz.
No, it wasn't Chrissy
Not
Moretz.
Chrissy Moretz?
No, it was this girl is the central character.
Okay.
And I just sat there thinking, you can't act. This is a whole film centered on you. You couldn't act your way out of a paper bag. And I just think, well, it must get better. And it got progressively worse. And I just thought, God, because I like the premise. It was kind of interesting because it was all set in a World War II bomber. And she gets on board through a variety of reasons. And then the story just goes nuts. I kind of gave up when she fell out of the plane. They've just shot down a Japanese Zero fighter, and she bounces off the Zero and bounces back in the plane. And I thought, I don't think this is based on reality.
No, that's when you pick up the remote control and press
you kind of lost me here. And to be honest, I don't care what happens to you.
Okay.
I cared what happened to the crew, but I didn't care about you because she screamed in you produce stuff, right? So you would see the dailies, as they call them. She screamed in every single scene. And she's on all the time. And she just keeps screaming. It
sounds very peculiar.
It was exhausting.
Yeah.
Sounds
not
a
one
scream.
for me then.
Not for
Good.
you.
That'll go on the blacklist.
Don't bother. Absolutely.
Anyway.
Save yourself a couple of hours.
Oh. Well, something I did enjoy this week that I picked up on, I think we've talked about The Hotel Inspector in the past, and that indeed again was on Channel 5 and fronted by a woman called Alex Polizzi, who is part of the famous Forte family, granddaughter of Rocco Forte. Well, she and her mother have just created their own hotel. So it could have looked like, well, in fact, it did sort of look like a 3-hour advert for her new hotel. And they did have the name of the lawyer in the credits, which made me think that they'd had to be very careful to not make it overly promotional. So they didn't mention the name of it very often.
It's pants, isn't it? It's complete pants. In 2 sentences, you've just... All right, sorry.
But it is worth watching because it's the ultimate sort of makeover. So the mother and daughter buy a tumbly down hotel in East Sussex, and they buy it right at the beginning of the pandemic. They've borrowed £3 million from the bank. Of course, the pandemic arrives. They can't do anything. All work stops, and then they open this summer. It's obviously just opened. And obviously the promotion has done wonders because I think they're now booked through until at least November. But actually, it's a very interesting watch. She completely loses it. And of course, the one thing that you do realize is that she, in the other program, the Hotel Inspector, is giving away all this advice to other people and castigating them for not getting stuff right. And of course, what you do see in this program is actually how difficult it is to create a hotel and run it and open it in a pandemic and get the stuff right. But it's worth watching. It's nicely made. It's an easy 3-hour watch, three separate 1 hours. And that came out on Channel 5 this week. So it's definitely...
Remind us what it's called, sorry.
It's called My Hotel Nightmare with Alex Polizzi.
Any quick fire suggestions, Chantal?
Quick fire, if you want something...
Just say, do me a favor, just say, hello, Lauren.
Hello, Lauren.
There we go, thank you. I always love it when my daughter just rocks up and goes, hi, Dad.
Oh, hello, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Anyway,
Okay.
you've probably seen this. It's a 10-year-old documentary that I found only because Netflix put it on the front page last week. It is about David Geffen, the music and television and film entrepreneur who is worth $10.8 billion.
So he's okay then.
He's
all right.
okay. Although he did get slightly criticised for going down, I think, to the Caribbean on his yacht with his 45 staff on his yacht to get away from COVID. So little bit of...
I've got a dog.
Anyway, he is incredibly interesting. And it is a really good documentary, just called Inventing David Geffen. It's 10 years old, but it is a really fascinating insight into his life and the music business and Hollywood and how it all fits together and how you make tons of money out of it.
He is huge, isn't he? I don't mean
I'll be
physically
watching
huge,
that later.
Great, really good.
Being Phil Dave, Phil goes to the Serpentine with 45 pence in his pocket to get away from COVID with his boat, which he then puts on the Serpentine. It's not quite the show we're looking for, Philip.
Not quite.
Let's be honest.
Chantal, thank you very much indeed. Much
pleasure.
appreciated. Oh, by the
Thank you
way,
so much.
we should point out that Ramsey earlier on got in contact with us to say, can you please tell Chantal that he's got an idea for a new program? He's calling it The Masked Swinger. I'll let you come up with the rest. Anyway, thank you very much, Chantal. Have a great week. Goodbye. There we go. And that's it for today. Thank you very much to our guests. Thank you to Samuel Clements. Thank you very much to Ray Gelato. And of course, to the lovely Chantal Rickards. And of course, thank you very much for your comments and the pleasure of your company. Lauren, if I may say, your sense of timing is perfect. Thank you very much. Anyway, we'll be back on Wednesday. No show on Monday. We'll be back Wednesday at midday. But whatever you're up to this weekend, have yourself a good one. Thank you very much indeed for watching. And yes, RK, have a good weekend. I was supposed to see you, we're not now.
Yes, precisely.
Bye.
So my life's